G'day folks and welcome back from the break. It's time now for the elimination final, and joining me for all of the action is Raven, the Carly main himself. How you going, mate?
Good, man. And look, I'm feeling really good about this match. It is the first time we're going to find out who is eliminated from the playoffs here in Six Masters. A lot of stakes into this game.
Of course, if you are just joining us, Wildcard just took down Okami 2-0 in the upper final, so they've qualified for the grand final with a map advantage. These two teams, though, Pittsburgh and Sinister, are fighting it out to stay in the bracket. If they lose, they're gone.
Yeah, really high stakes. They are not going to be wanting to bail out. Of course, that means they will miss out on top 3 as well, which has its own benefits going in towards that little mini major we have in August. So this is going to be a real tooth and nail battle for these two teams.
Well, of course, here is the Six Masters finals bracket, and as you can see in that upper final, Wildcard have progressed through with that 2-0. Okami have dropped down, and of course, they will verse the winner of this next series.
They will, and that's obviously going to be also a really tough battle going forward for these teams. Sinister did struggle yesterday against Okami, so if they do manage to get through, well, they will get another crack at it.
Team Sinister, they've had a great season, but just fell short yesterday at 0-2 against Okami, and it wasn't very pretty, was it, Raven?
No, it wasn't very pretty. They really struggled, and it didn't look like the Sinister we had seen as much in the regular season. So maybe just having a bad day, or really just Okami stepping it up. Either way, Sinister are going to want to be turning that around tonight because, like we've been saying, they don't want to be the first team to be going home out of the playoffs.
Of course, just before today's broadcast, Vinny was actually the second MVP, or second placed MVP is probably the best way to describe it in the Snowball Esports rankings. So he's had a really strong season so far, but unfortunately, he wasn't massive yesterday. He didn't quite step up as we would expect, and the rest of the team just looked under pressure for the most part on both maps.
I think that just generally summed up the way Sinister played as well. They had their moments of what you would expect from Sinister and their moments of playing really well, but it just never continued. It was never as consistent as we would come to expect from them. So hopefully they can bring it back here tonight because it's do or die.
Milo there with that massive 3K. That was big, and he needs to step up here. He has been one of the top fraggers, in fact, across the entire season, despite sort of transitioning into that more IGL/support role, particularly playing the likes of Habana on the attack. It's really up to the whole team to step up here, because we know that when they start to crumble a little bit, it has a flow-on effect. Their confidence gets hit, and I think that was pretty evident yesterday.
Have to agree, but also generally Sinister have had all of their players step up in one way or another throughout the whole season, and I felt like that was what was lacking a bit yesterday. Some of the impact players weren't having the impact as usual, and while some of the other players were playing all right, it was never really feeling a together effect that we would see from Sinister.
Well, of course, Sinister are taking on the Pittsburgh Knights, and yesterday they had a pretty fierce battle against Wildcard. They did lose 0-2, and Raven, that second map was in fact a 0-7 in favor of Wildcard. So they're coming into tonight with not the greatest of form.
Yeah, and look, that second map was so unfortunate because obviously we're going to be talking a lot about that. And you know what? Map 1 on Kafe was insane. It was such a good effort from them against Wildcard, taking it all the way overtime. And we're going to be focusing on that 7-0 because that was a total smacking. But really, they played quite well on Kafe. And if they can replicate that kind of form against Sinister, that really is going to be danger for Team Sinister and could be what the Knights need to be able to get them through to Okami in the next round.
I mean, both times that the Knights have taken on Sinister, they have lost. And again, Clubhouse, funnily enough, was actually the close map in that series. It was the third play day of the regular season. They lost it 7-8 in the end, and then it lost on Coastline 2-7. So maybe the argument could be made that the Knights start off strong, but then they start to sort of drop off, particularly if they lose that first map, and we could really see that in effect in this best of 3.
Yeah, and there could be a few different reasons that happens, but maybe mindset is a big key there. And if that is the issue, well, the Knights really have to summon some real positivity and some solid mindset coming in tonight because Sinister aren't going to be an easy opponent. They want to just stick it out. It's a best of 3. You need to be winning more than a single map.
Alright, let's jump into the veto. Let's see what the teams have banned out. Let's see where we won't be heading. We're expecting probably a consulate there from Sinister, but it actually ends up being from the Pittsburgh Knights, funnily enough. So not sure if that's actually the smartest play, taking that off the board first, when Sinister themselves took off the board 6 out of their 7 games in the regular season.
Yeah, and maybe that's just the Knights worrying about that being a bit of an X-Factor map and just not wanting to let it come into play. and they're confident with the rest of the map pool. In terms of map pools, though, I really feel like Sinister have the better depth or the stronger map pool. That could, I don't know, that could come back to bite me. Maybe the Knights have been saving something up for this kind of occasion, and they could surprise Sinister.
Alrighty, let's keep rolling through the picks and see where each team has selected to go. Clubhouse slipped through. Sinister will claim that, and then the Pittsburgh Knights will follow that up onto Theme Park.
Theme park pick is very exciting. I love to see a good old theme park. And the Knights said in their interview, Strider said that was the decided map against Wildcard, and they were really backing themselves going into that. So this is what we're going to get to see now, is that the Knights play on theme park. We've seen Sinister play it, not much. They played quite well against Wildcard. It was a 5-7 loss, so very close. They can go toe-to-toe on that. Clubhouse, though, not too surprised to see this one come out, guys.
Exactly. Sinister, throughout the season, 3 wins, 1 loss. They've looked quite strong on that map. But let's keep rolling through the bands and see what the decider will be in this best of 3. We're going to end up on Kafe, the home of ANZ, apparently, and that could make for a pretty close matchup if we go the full distance.
I agree, and I actually feel like this might almost favor the Knights, just based on how they played last night against Wildcard. If it goes all the way to that third map, Sinister have had some 50-50 performances on Kafe. They've never really looked overly convincing on it. Whereas the Knights going toe-to-toe with Wildcard, who are clearly in great form right now, I think they can carry a lot of confidence going into that. So if I'm Sinister, I'm going to be trying to finish this out 2-0 and not risk that third map.
I really hope it goes to the third map, because both these teams actually went 2-2 on Kafe, so it doesn't really get much closer than that and could shape up for an incredible final map. It's going to be up to Pittsburgh Knights, though, I think, to really get that momentum going on that first map and try and take it up to what will be Sinister's strong map. But let's see what you guys at home think. Let's have a look at the Twitter poll and see who is the favorite. And it's Sinister with 79% of the vote, indicating that you guys at home are probably thinking it's going to be a 2-0, but I'm not as convinced.
I definitely think it's going to be close. I feel like all of these series are going to be close, though. And you know what? We haven't seen a third map yet. Maybe it will be this one tonight, Guz. Sinister, though, they came into the playoffs with great form. They looked really strong. And, of course, they took second seed coming in. The Knights are going to have to be wary about that.
Alrighty, folks, it's time for the elimination final. The loser will be heading home in 4th place. The winner will take on Okami. It's Sinister v Pittsburgh. The map is Clubhouse Raven. Let's jump into the bands.
Going to be surprised if a Thatcher or a Maverick aren't taken off, but as we saw earlier, maybe both does, and that does create some really difficult plays to attack, really relying on proficiency with Kali.
There we go, Thatcher from Sinister, no real surprise there. Basically every single game, bar 2, in fact, they actually banned Thatcher, so comfort pick for them. And the Knights were expecting to follow that up onto a Maverick, but instead they'll actually follow it up onto IQ. So a Clubhouse with Maverick on the board, Raven, that'll spice things up.
It will make things a bit easier compared to what we saw earlier, where there's a bigger reliance on Kali. But this IQ ban, wow, this is potentially a target ban straight towards one of the big impact players for Sinister. Vincier plays a lot of IQ, and he can really pop off with that G8. But of course, IQ's gadget, the scanner, looking for that those gadgets in the intel, that's really valuable on a map like Clubhouse. So this is a really good ban coming out from the Knights.
Mira and Valk will round things off, and I think it's important to note that Vincier, who, again, on those attacks has basically been maining IQ, was the top fragger for Sinister heading into the finals. 149 kills in total, or 1.1 KD. He's been quite strong on those entries, so making him feel a little bit more uncomfortable may well be the way to go. But Sinister are starting on arguably the more comfortable side here of the defense, and Church Arsenal will be their first site of choice.
If they do stick in this castle, then maybe we are going to be seeing that SSG roam style. They've got the mute there as well for the intel collection denial. Nico coming off that vigil, which would have definitely helped with the roam, but Wamaya has really shown the strength in a defense lineup, pairing in with that Jaeger, catching a lot of projectiles. Can be a real pain and big difficulty for attack to deal with.
Indeed it can. Of course, keep in mind, if you are just tuning in for the first round here between Sinister and the Knights, this is the elimination final. No more second chances. If you lose this match, you will end up in 4th place. And of course, it's important to note that only the top 3 teams from the Oceanic Nationals, being this tournament, the 6 Masters, will actually qualify for the Oceanic Mini Major, which will be later in the year. So there's definitely big stakes on this match, and both these teams want the best opportunity to try and gain some points towards the global standings for the Six Invitational.
Absolutely there, Guz. And I just want to bring it back to the bans here. Sinister rounded it out by banning out Valkyrie, and I really feel like that had to be a bit of a reflex ban, because with no IQ, Valkyrie becomes really strong. It can be difficult to find those black eye cameras placed around the map, and with a map like Clubhouse, it does facilitate a lot of movement with that extra intel. So that could really affect Sinister. It means that whatever they were maybe thinking of banning on defense might not have eventuated now.
Does look like the Knights are going for a full map sweep here. Sinister are holding from above. Milo on the top floor has a rotate at the hatch and could try and play off. That is Dino will drone him out, I believe. Maybe? No, he's gonna... I think Dino heard him though, so Milo's position surely has been noted to the rest of the Knights, who may well ignore him or try and hunt him down. Looks like they are going to go down the hunting route, but as you can see, Milo's all the way back towards the main stairs. He's a long way away from these entries.
It looks like they're falling off this roam quite quickly. Yep, it's Milo already back downstairs. So that's, you know, I would say a really well executed roam there. They didn't stay until they died. They didn't hard fight it, but the Knights are still using a lot of time to clear this out. In fact, by the time they really start to work at things like hatches and clearing utility, it's half the round expelled. I think that is really effective for a roam.
Now, while all that's been going on, Strider got to work on the jacuzzi wall, open that front entry. A little bit dissatisfied that Jim may not have been cleared. That mute jammer preventing the drone from locating any of the Sinister players in that location, but as we noted, they are long gone. Vinny with an electro claw, maybe trying to get the church wall, potentially. Player at the top of main stairs, could be an engagement as Hayward will now come for some vertical play. So far though, Raven, it's been great time wasting by Team Sinister.
Really have forced the Knights to burn out a lot of time here, and the Knights are going to have to start getting a bit of a move on and start putting some pressure into Sinister, because right now they can just ride that clock out to the end of the round. That will sit them in a great spot. Some verticality is now being obtained. This kitchen hatch is still not open, and it is still electrified. So this really is going to come down to a bit of a late push, a last minute execute. It's definitely going to be favoring the defense.
40 seconds on the board. Dino trying to flush out any players on that B chassis as he attempts to maybe get that hatch open, but it's proving so challenging as Vinsiri actually has an angle, misses the shot. I believe they're at least not inflicting enough damage. 25 seconds on the board. Sinister holding firm, but we have seen them struggle in these late round scenarios. The question is, can they hold on?
They will have to with 15 seconds to go. It's just going to have to be the Knights yeet, drop, and try plant or frag out. About to find that as the timer hits 10. Pushing in through towards blue. The gunfight comes out. Milo wins that with a trade happening. Means he gets one of his own. They are all in Arsenal, the Knights, trying to get this plant down. But with 1 second to go, not looking like it's going to be stuck. And Sinister get the first round.
Strong start here for Sinister. Looking strong. I just said strong twice, but they're looking firm. At least in comparison to yesterday. If you missed yesterday, they dropped 2 maps pretty convincingly against Okami. Citing some issues there with their teamwork and maybe a bit of mentality, but look, it's a strong start for them. They're definitely a momentum-based team. When things start to go against them, they tend to struggle a little bit, but so far so good. If they can keep this ball rolling on this Clubhouse defense, they'll position themselves nicely.
Definitely a great point about their momentum style. We really have seen mindset play a factor with Sinister in the past. 6 Masters, they've really come on top of it, and it's been a lot better for them. But for me, that felt like it was a real factor yesterday, and for them to be able to get this first round and do it really well, I think it's going to help them so much moving forward in this series. It is only 1 round. Of course, there's a lot of siege to play ahead of us, and the Knights are now just starting to feel out how Sinister are going to try and play this map.
Sinister electing to go CCTV and Cash for their 2nd round. Bringing the Womega combo, as well as Kaye to really slow down this attack in conjunction with those mute jammers will make it really challenging for the Knights to open that wall. But Strider's prepared. He has brought the Maverick with that blowtorch, and he's likely going to trick the wall by torching both the top and the bottom to create an entry for Hayward or Josh even to open up. And Vinny is trying to find a sneaky spot for that Electro Claw. Interestingly enough, that's inside a cache. But yeah, I guess Maverick will have to deal with that too potentially later in the round. If he has enough fuel, that's the main concern there.
Yeah, that's always the thing with Maverick. You have to be a really efficient player. You can really burn through those gas canisters quickly if you're not careful. Pre-opening this wall is going to help a lot from Hayward. Maybe not quite as much as could have helped though, because now that there's a bit of a cheese effect there on the wall, that can just be a bit of a pain with the torch. It will make you use a little bit more gas if you're not efficient. This smoke is going to just delay that happening as well as adding HP damage to Strider. Maybe by the end of this, he'll be half health. Nico is going to start off the round strongly for Sinister, getting a pick in that first minute.
Potentially a run out or a peek from that garage door, but it doesn't even look like the barricade's broken, so not too sure how Nico got that pick. Either way, though, it's a nice one at that. Giving Sinister that man advantage, giving them that confidence that they really need. We know that they thrive when they're feeling comfortable, and a pick this early in the round will definitely play into that. The Knights, though, they look like they're also setting up the pinch from Con here as Strider's continuing to work this wall. I don't know if Fisho has another smoke. He may still have one in the pocket. But again, the Knights finding things a little bit challenging at the moment.
Just getting a little bit worried about what hit him, but mate, that was a magnet, don't stress. Strider is taking a long time, though, getting this wall open. This has almost been a minute and a half of him sitting at this wall, trying to get something happening. I'm not sure if he's even just giving up. No, he's going for just a bit of a crouch-style hole. Don't think that really gets the full run in. Either way, it did burn up a lot of time. He used a lot of gas, and he did lose about half his HP. So that is a bit of a win there for Sinister coming into the final minute of the round. There's a lot of pressure from the Knights, though, in construction towards Cash. This is starting to make it a bit sketchy for Sinister to be sitting here.
Fisho guy, so proficient with that shotgun. We see him time and time again hitting shots, but he has the SMG in hand this time as Juicy finds Vincere. The trade does come out though. It's a great shot from Fisho as he now whips out that shotgun. He knows that this player is inside of Con, but surely at that range he'll lose the gunfight. He's getting naded up as well. So low on HP, so many angles for him to watch. Where's the support from Sinister? No one watching the entry for the cover, and now it is a 3-on-3. Make that a 2-on-3 as Derpe has been down. Molosca needs to go big here. There's a player to his hard right. He pre-fires the angle, finds the shot. Nico surely waiting to come and assist as that plant now has gone down. It is a post-plant, Raven.
Knights are holding very passive positions here. They're real deep outside the CCTV window, which means that it's all on Sinister to either try and make some gunfights happen or not. They will get the extra man up, so it is a 3 versus 2. Make it a 2 versus 2 Strider just gets him out of there. And with only 20 seconds left, it's going to be tough, and it's all on Milo coming in through from the top of Cash stairs. Not 100% sure of the positions, doesn't get that one in construction. The Knights get the round back, bring it to a 1-1.
Great hold there from the Knights. In the end, it was looking a little bit sketch for the majority of that round, but a great push from Con. Able to just pressure Sinister into a couple of key mistakes. No one protecting Fisho on that rush in, and just like that, they had control of Cash, stuck that plant. It was a really strong hold from there. Great shot there from Fisho, but as we saw, there was just no cover. Milo goes big as well late in that round, but this wasn't quite enough.
You did point it out, and I think it was totally on point where there was just no cover watching the run into Cash. And if that was better covered, maybe Fisho guy could have survived. They might have even got some of the frags of the attackers running in. I think that was the turning point of the round for Sinister, and really well executed from the Knights in the end. Given the time issues and utility issues they were facing there with the Kennel's Wall, it really worked out for them. And maybe Sinister here have identified that it was theirs for a majority of that round, and it's just a simple mistake they can fix, and they're going to try and repeat it.
I mentioned it earlier, there are occasions where Sinister do play a little bit flustered in the late round, and look, it's understandable. In the late rounds of Siege, comms can get cluttered. Things become a little bit overwhelming when you're trying to watch so many run-ins, particularly against an aggressive team like the Knights late round. Sinister need to try and tidy that up, though. I don't think the Knights are going to take it easy on them and take their time late round. They're going to continue to try and abuse that. Try and mount some more wins on the board.
Knights really forged a aggressive attack style all through 6 Masters, where they're not really afraid to take gunfights. They're not afraid to pick up the pace and take the fight to you, which is really important against a lot of teams. And from what I saw in the first round, actually, Sinister have read into that they want to delay time so that the Knights can't time their aggression well enough, and it has to all come late round. The Knights did manage to get a jump on them in round 2. So I think that's going to be the real tussle here with this first half. Oh. If he gets this over, this could be deadly.
Oh, that would be very dirty. Vinny does show some patience, though. I know he wants to. Come on, Vinny, do it. Well, he does break the softball a little bit so he can get the C4 out. Needs to be mindful that he doesn't get shot in the feet. And look, he makes the educated guess that they're probably watching that and instead decides to fall back, at least for the meantime. He might get aggressive again, though. Trying to find this peak. He knows that his utility isn't really going to be useful against this Maverick, so he can play a little bit more risky, try and find that pick. If he does get the kill onto Maverick, it could be massive, and he does in the end. Vinny, what a play. Surely Sinister can convert the round.
Yeah, that's huge. CCTV wall is now going to be pretty difficult to get open. I mean, they do still have another hard breacher in the Habana, but I don't think the Knights really look like they want to use that on Kennel's wall. Dino is, in fact, in master bedroom. There really is going to be a hard push in through construction here, but a big thing that helped the Knights so much before was that angle in through that Kennel's wall. It meant that Fisher Guy was stuck in CCTV, but now Sinister can much more comfortably move through CCTV and help them repel the attackers pushing into cash.
The Knights now are rotating for a con push. But as you mentioned, that freedom inside of CCTV that Sinister have gained should make it much easier to hold the cross. That said, the Knights aren't giving up easily, but Milo will drop Juicy. That's Ash off the board. Dino is still up, though. A nade over the wall could clear this Electro Claw or Mute Jammer that is on the wall. Nade will be cooked by Hayward. Will be sent over. Dino ready and waiting with the X-Kairos, but I think that nade will not get it in the end. The Knights really struggling at the moment with any sort of util clear, and that's going to come back to bite them.
Yeah, I think that got zapped by a Magnet or an ADS, but regardless, it didn't go where it needed to go. And with only 20 seconds, Hayward just yeets into cash. Josh gets a pick. Fisher will fight back, and here they all come out, and all of a sudden, Josh, mate, it's on you, pushing up cash stairs with 8 seconds to go. Sinister very much aware of where he is. He gets one onto Derpe. That was a great shot, but he's now been downed. Time is going to finish off, and Sinister will get that round.
The key moment for that round, well and truly Vinsiri on that CC wall, getting that pick onto Maverick, absolutely crucial in winning that round for Sinister. They just look so much more comfortable in holding off that late round push from Con, and rightly so. With that wall closed, it's much harder for the attackers to shut down some of those angles, forced to just filter in, and in the end they were just hosed down. Sinister, with that lead, will now head back down to church.
Really was. The impact there was losing that Maverick, just giving Sinister that extra comfort, the extra spots they can sit on site really helped them. Of course, there were holes there, so the Knights could have used that to an extent, but it just was a bit risky because then they couldn't run through to try and refrag or anything like that late round. It meant that they would have been stuck in that position. So probably rightfully so, not using those. Sinister getting to go back down to Church Arsenal as well, which they won so strongly in round 1. Could be quite the concern here for Knights. Sinister might be poised to go up 3-1. Depends on exactly the strat they pull out. They haven't brought the castle this time. So potentially not the same kind of roam deal that we saw in round number 1.
The roam last time had a limited effect. Did waste a little bit of time. The attackers did commit to trying to clear it before realizing deep into the round that it was in fact clear quite quickly. Milo, for example, who was playing above, not afraid to rotate back at the first sign of danger. We did see Sinister prepare some of the hatches, but it doesn't look like anyone's heading upstairs. So maybe a little bit of a false tease from Sinister.
Yeah, looks like the Knights are really on top of whereabouts Sinister were playing or moving around in that prep phase, which is great. Maybe a good sign of their drone placements being a bit more efficient. Dino is still going to hard check the top floor just in case, but they look much more confident that it's clear, and they're going to move straight in through that first floor, as we can see through those outlines. This is going to be big for the Knights because it means they now have so much more time and utility available, and even drones for the later in the round to be able to make things happen.
Hayward on the sledge again, creating angles from above. The Knights desperately trying to find the first pick of the round, but Sinister equally not wanting to give it to them. A couple of players are lit up. Juicy is one of those. Already got a nice long angle down the hallway with the G36 and the ACOG. Again though, Sinister playing patiently as the Knights continue to slowly get this utility open, these walls opened as well. Step 2 though is going to be this church wall.
Time is just in favor of the Knights right now. We're only just getting to the halfway point, and they are so much further ahead than last time. In fact, basically a whole minute ahead of where they were in round number 1, which went against them. So this is something that Sinister will now have to think about dealing with, whether they decide to try and get some aggression and get a couple of picks, or whether they will just turtle back and let the Knights do what they need to do.
Vinny trying to contest that long angle. It looks like the Knights will commit to a moto push. Strider will drop the hatch and begins torching this church. Well, not sure if Dino has any X-Kairos left. It looks like he does. He makes an angle towards the black box plant. C4 gets expended, no damage taken. This is great for the Knights. If they get this wall open, they could start to go for a plant.
Being covered well as well, and look at that, that goes soft really quick there. So the time management has just been on point from the Knights here. Sinister might be starting to regret a little bit not giving just early presence to stop the Knights being able to push up. They can't get this wall open though, that's not really going to help them out too much, but it is soft. They will get some angles, and of course there is the Habana X Kairos angle that has been opened. So Sinister are basically sitting ducks here. It's going to come down to these opening gunfights pushing through.
Milo loses that gunfight in blue, but it gets traded out. Strider with the diffuser in hand. Dino, the only player left to cover. And this flank from Nico will surely shut this down. It's a 2 versus 2, but Nico gets one. Drops the diffuser. He can't get the second. Vinny will clean that one up. And Team Sinister will take round number 4.
I'm going to be honest, that looks so much more like it was going to be a Knights round. They've done everything so well and so efficient. And Sinister just had to sit back and wait. And often that doesn't favor a defender just sitting in a pocket. You can establish crossfires, but when you've got aggressive players like you have from the Knights with great aim, it can be a bit risky just sitting there and getting peeked on. But Sinister did a great job at repelling that. They got the picks they needed, and they managed to salvage that round based on a beautiful little flank there in the main hallway from Nico. So they're going to move up to 3-1 here, guys. They're looking pretty good in this first half.
Good lead for Team Sinister. They will now head over to Gym Bedroom. Pretty similar lineup once again to what we've seen so far. Goyo will be brought in though. Some extra protection side of side and some more utility that the Knights will need to try and clear. The main issue really for the Knights so far though has been opening some of these reinforced walls. They did actually amend that really in the last round. A lot more efficient. But Jacuzzi Wall, for example, and even towards Cash could pose some more difficult scenarios here, or some different scenarios for the Knights to deal with at least.
Something Sinister have really persisted with is bringing both Wamai and Jaeger. And a lot of teams are doing that, and that can be a real challenge for attack because you have to think about not just things like Goyo here with these shields and how you're going to clear those and what needs to be cleared to open a wall, but all your projectiles could be in danger. And that just gets worse as the round goes on, given the fact that Wamai regenerates those magnets. That's something also that's really important, not just with time management, but thinking about your utility expenditure, because you have to factor that in for the length of the round with a Wamai on the board.
Something that we failed to mention earlier is that the Knights have won more rounds on this map against Sinister already than they did against Wildcard yesterday, where they were 0-7. So, I mean, the Knights are... You can't even say they're going any X times better than they did yesterday because you can't times by 0. But yeah, it's definitely been better than yesterday. I could say that with confidence.
And look, the start of that round, start of this round, sorry, pretty good because Milo is now off the board. That was a good opening frag from Josh. It's going to put them in a great position moving forward with the man advantage. Fisho is by himself in cash, but he does have a bit of assistance at the top of the stairs from Nico. He's going to try and stop the run in CCTV. Fisho getting a little aggressive on that doorway. Not going to play that passive. And time management again is on point from the Knights, just as their shots are. Juicy gets a great one onto Nico, and this is looking like a good round here from them.
Oh, Juicy. Pop off, brother. 2v5 now. Derpe and Vinny need to try and hold out this push, which is coming out from the Knights over towards Cash. Vinny going for a very risky flank. It could pay off, but Derpe is now left all alone in sight. So many angles that the Knights could be using to shut down this flank, but it doesn't look like anyone is at the moment. Derpe tasked with trying to find a pick on the balcony, will miss, and he's shut down, exposing himself to the long angle. Now Vinny's left in a 1-on-5. Not a whole lot he can do in this scenario. The Knights surely will close this one out. They have a minute to work with, plenty of manpower, plenty of HP as well. Vinny, pre-play C4 goes off, but doesn't find its mark. He continues to crouch through Cash. Of course, with 5 members being on the board, it's unlikely anyone's watching drones, but talking about drones, he has just been spotted out, and yeah, not looking great here, Raven.
No, now that they know exactly where he is, this flank is going to be pretty ineffective. You see, there's a lot of players that have all faced and turned looking at him. Plant has gone down now, so timer has been reversed. It is against Vinny. 35 seconds. Looks like he might just play this patiently, see what picks he can get. But at the same time, he's going to be able to use that to talk to his team and figure out what's going wrong. That's a great shot onto Dino. Finds one, but can't find another. The Knights will get one back. Makes it 3-2.
Great round there from Juicy. At least 3 spicy picks that we saw there in that round. 3 great shots indeed. The Knights looking to try and even out the half, which on Clubhouse will be a great effort. Probably not shaping up to be as defender-sided as the previous match this afternoon between Wildcard and Okami, where we saw both Thatcher and the Maverick taken off the board. That Maverick allowing the Knights to generate some angles in towards side, open up some of these main walls, which has aided them clearly. If they're able to even out this half, the pressure is well and truly on Sinister, who are playing on their map pick.
That's a great point, guys. It is their map pick, and they have proven this to be their strength throughout the season. And even going back into Pro League, Clubhouse was always their thing. So the Knights are up against it for sure here. And I mean, they are really going toe-to-toe. The score is 3-2. They seem to have got a bit of a gauge on how Sinister are dealing with these defenses. This will be a bit of a test because Cash CCTV was a real 50-50 last time, or throughout this half, I should say. Could go either way.
Milo currently going 5-5, a pretty strong performance from him so far, but he was shut down quite quickly in the previous rounds and needs to try and recover.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Been sticking that Jaeger pick, and despite Jaeger in relatively recent history being nerfed in quotation marks to a 2 armor 2 speed, many teams still opting to play him just because of how strong he is. The fragging power as well is quite high, as Juicy, who has been in great form the last couple of rounds, almost finds another pick. If he had have hit that, that would have been a devastating start for Sinister.
This could be the telltale thing here, guys. Can they get this wall open? And if they do, boy oh boy, that might just really give them what they need to be able to win the round. Because the one they did win on Cash CCTV, of course they did get this wall open. They've always, or they have been showing struggles every single time attacking this wall to get it open. Hey, we're doing a great job clearing all of this soft wall this time. Oh, before shot out of the sky means that he's a bit safer. He has to finish it off.
The question is Sinister peaking this like Vinny did on the last occasion when they got that pick. Vinny on the Kaid was playing it super aggressively. It doesn't look like it's as aggressive on this occasion. Strider, though, is trying to be as careful as possible. Getting it piece by piece, and the wall has been open. He scatters out of there, not wanting to be pre-fired, and it's a great start for the Knights.
You can just tell that Vinny was living in that man's head rent-free just there, dude, because he was trying to get out of there before he gets shot, but well, he got it open, so that's a big deal now for the Knights. It really was an issue in the round they lost, and not so much this time around. They are going to rotate, and it looks like it's still going to be a heavy push through Con. This drone is beautifully catching this flank from Milo.
Uh-oh.
He's essentially going to be a sitting duck here.
Milo, despite peeking down, hasn't seen that drone. He does in the end. Well spotted. Good discipline there from the Jaeger. Opting to rotate over towards blue. Wise decision in the end as the Knights will gain control once again of Con. Flashes are used to expend the ADS devices and any magnets, and the grenades will follow! Oh, that's a mistake by Hayward, who just misses the gap. Not sure if the utility is being cleared, and it could be a misplay by the Knights.
Oh, that could have been a lot worse, though. Oh, I was really scared for him then. Pre-fire just over the top of Derpe 2 on cash status, so it really could have been different for the Knights. But with only 30 seconds to go, they are down a man. This final push onto site is going to be quite chaotic, and it's going to come down to these picks.
Fisher guy finds one. Diffuser dropped at the CC window. Dino going to collect that Voltage. Surely will be his demise, but he might be forced to go for it. But Josh finds the entry onto Vinny. Finds a second. Oh, no. He gets traded back. I thought Derpe was going to be taken down, but it doesn't matter in the end. Sinister will hold on, and it's not a bad half for them in the end.
Yeah, saved just in time by his teammates, so that really shows the teamwork and the crossfires held by Sinister, just being ready for those trades. On point there, they take that half 4-2, which I think is quite good here for a clubhouse defense. This is really where they're going to have to shine, though, on these attacks. This is going to show whether Sinister are down to win this map, or we might see a bit of a comeback from the Knights on the defense.
Maybe. Both these teams battling hard here on map number 1. It's Sinister's map pick. So, in theory, Sinister should take this map. Fighting to stay in the bracket. Of course, the loser will drop out. Both these teams currently on their second chance, and they don't get a third.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Fighting for that top 3. The winner will take on Okami tomorrow. With the winner of that, then taking on Wildcard in the grand final. A lot to play for here as Sinister, again, will be trying to just close out their own map pick.
Feels like a bit of a similar tale to last night for the Knights, where they needed to win that first map to be able to hold that chance against Wildcard. Of course, it is Sinister's map pick, so maybe if it's this by, the Knights aren't too phased by that. It's going to come down to their mindset and how they deal with it, really. Of course, they do have quite the chance. It's only 2 rounds to get it back to even, and on a clubhouse defense, that really isn't out of the realm of possibility. On top of the fact the Knights haven't been terrible at this map in the past.
Definitely true. They played it a lot in the regular season. In fact, they won it twice and lost it 4 times. Only one of those was a pick. So a lot of teams targeting this map against the Knights, and Sinister here in the playoffs, no exception. But as you mentioned, Pittsburgh are putting up a great fight so far. It won't be out of the realm of possibility to bring this scoreline back even. This first round, this first attack from Sinister will really be indicative, I believe, of how this one could pan out.
Bringing up their regular season matches on Clubhouse, one of those losses was actually to Sinister. But you know what, guys? That was a 7-8 loss. So that went the full distance. It couldn't have gone any closer.
Been a lot of close matches in Six Masters. Funnily enough, though, we haven't had a single 3 mapper at all in the playoffs yet. This could well be the first. Looking ahead, the second map could be an even bigger unknown, as the Knights didn't play Theme Park at all in the regular season. So even if Sinister win this map, the job will be far from done as we enter the halfway point here of Sinister's first attack. Juicy, in fact, will get the first pick. That's Nico. So efficient on that buck, taken off the board. from below. That's not a great start for Sinister.
Oh, not a great start at all. So the Knights really could be starting something great here. Of course, there is still some time left. Good impact trick. Milo gets a trade. Really important pick there onto Juicy the Maestro. That ult is so valuable in the late round. Will help them a lot. As another pick comes out, so maybe Sinister finally getting back on top here. They get this kitchen hatch open. They'll be in a great position coming into this final minute.
Milo finally able to open that kitchen hatch. No more impact grenades to be used from Josh. Milo will drone that out. Big C4 towards the main stairs, but Dino just misses his mark. He sees that player still on his scanner and another one above. Confident in holding that position as the wall has been electrified. Very strong position still being held by the Knights here, despite being at that man disadvantage.
Something I'm surprised about is that the Knights haven't tried or hadn't tried to poke more at Sinister in the early round and put more pressure on. Something that feels is a strength of the Knights, and they're just letting Sinister do what they need to do.
Drop comes out. The plant will follow. Milo tries to stick. It gets taken out, but the trade is immediate, and Stride is now left in a 1-on-3. The diffuser is dropped, though. This is well and truly winnable, but he can't get the first pick there onto Vinny, and Sinister will start things off with an attacking win.
So did quite well there, getting things open and making the progress needed, and putting a lot of pressure on the scoreboard or on the kill feed there. Getting 2 picks early, giving them that man advantage that they were able to carry through for the rest of the round. Also gave themselves just enough time at the end to manage that planter going down, replace, and just frag out when they need to. So well played on the attack. I think the Knights need to really take it early to Sinister and put pressure on to slow them down and force them to make more mistakes.
If Sinister manage to win one more round, they'll be on match point, giving them that confidence that they probably need to take this one over the line. But again, the Knights are on the defense. They're in a position to bring this back. They've elected to change sites. They're going to head over to CCTV and Cash. I'm also going to see the pulse come out from Strider, so expect potentially some play below, but the Knights electing not to bring the castle like we have seen from teams like Wildcard. Some interesting Electro Claw positions as well from Josh in the oil pit, as Knights are well and truly bringing some new strategies and new utilities to the board.
Yeah, with the IQ ban, that's going to make those a lot harder to locate, that's for sure. So see whether Sinister managed to deal with that or not. Fisher does actually have a drone just sitting there in garage, so he might have heard or seen where that Kaid was playing. So that could really undo that strategy. It's going to come down to the efficiency here of this Maverick, I say. If this kennel's wall goes open nice and quick, Sinister going to be in a great position to be able to close out the round.
We haven't talked a whole lot about Vinny so far on this map, but he is going 8 and 4, 5 assists as well. So he's been an impact fragger for the team, and that's consistent with his performance throughout the season, which is surprising. We flagged that that IQ ban may well have shut him down, but he seems to have adapted. Quite content in playing that sledge. Talking about entry points, Derpe still trying to blowtorch the wall. Nade will follow, trying to find anyone that could be main stairs. I don't think that nade really hits the mark though. And Derpe will now try and get the bottom as Vinny will get that first pick onto Haywood. He's actually inside. He finds 2. Where has this come from? Knights have just let him straight in towards side. He knows there's one more in con as Strider finds Fisho. Juicy finds one back, and Vinny could be taken out if he's not careful, but he gets that player in con. It's a 2-on-2. He's alongside Derpe, but is Derpe still outside? That's the question. He has no support, but Derpe actually has found himself in the objective. Nade comes out, trying to displace that player at the top of the stairs. Shots rain out. Vinny can't find the pick. Neither can Derpe. Where's that second player, though? Surely they can get him. Vinny, though, will retrade that. He's on a quad, but it's Pulse from below. Surely the C4 can hit the mark. He pre-places it. Blows it, but it doesn't find the mark. Vinny still full HP. Sees the player at the top, but misses the shot. He cooks the grenade, tries to flush him out further, and he gets aggressive now with the L8. He knows that this player is at the bottom of the stairs, pulsing him out. Is Strider. Will Vinny get aggressive? He does, and he just misses the shot. Strider comes up clutch there for the Knights. That was way too close for comfort.
Boy, oh boy, they just let Vinny get onto site, and he just had his way with it. Well played from him, and the Knights clawed that back beautifully. I really thought that Sinister were going to have that. Derpe Potentially could have just planted on one of the desks in cash with Vinny covering. Decided to go for the pick in the end. Knights managed to hold on to that. I thought that was really well and truly slipping away for them.
Where's that second player though? Surely they can get him at the bottom of the stairs. Oh, Vinny. So close. And I think if he had the SMG out there for the final pick, he may have been a better chance at that range, but he did the right thing. He had to go for the pick. Pulse below would have been able to floor bang him unless he went on the table, but then he'd have to stick the plant for 7 seconds. So I think he made the best of a bad situation, teetering on the edge there of the ace clutch, just falling short. Sinister, though, they have established a pretty good round buffer here. They are still 5-3 in the lead, trying to pry their way open towards that match point.
Guys, I've got to say, you basically summoned the man. You said you'd hardly spoken about him, and then he just pulls out almost an ace.
Yeah, we just switched to him and he's inside, click ahead. So I was like, oh, okay. Well done.
It is. So he's now 12-5-5, which is quite significant now. And look, Sinister do still hold a 2-round lead over the Knights. There is still a lot of work ahead of the Knights here. They need to be winning a lot more rounds to bring it back. They are rotating through, though. They haven't gone back to Church Arsenal yet, which was won by Sinister in the first round of this half, at least. Move through. Like a pretty heavy presence over on the cash side, which is very common for this defense. See how Sinister deal with this.
Talking about fraggers, the Knights are definitely a more well-rounded team in terms of the fragging department. Their top fragger, in fact, was Dino with 122 kills in the regular season. And just glancing at that, that's basically just on the edge of the top 10 overall. So the Knights, throughout the season, not hitting the fragging department as hard as many of these other teams. Of course, keep in mind, they just managed to sneak into the top 4 with some head-to-head calculations. We didn't think they were even going to make it here to the finals, but they just snuck in. Question now is who's going to step up for them? Who's going to try and get some of these kills on the board? Try and open up some of these rounds. So far, it's been a little bit quiet from some of their key players.
To see whether they do use that time to step up here. Sinister have now done a full rotate over to focus on this jacuzzi wall. It's Derpe with that Maverick. He's going to start opening it up. Hayward here, maybe. He looks pretty keen for this C4. He might try it again.
Oh, no. I thought it was going to go through. Hayward just narrowly misses it, and Derpe will now get to work on the wall. I reckon Derpe is one of the most efficient Maverick players in Six Masters. It seems like every time he gets to a wall, he's just torching that down real quick. Not really giving Knights an opportunity to do anything. I mean, yes, we saw an attempted C4, but it was an attempted one, not successful. With that wall open now, Sinister have just over a minute to try and convert something in towards site.
I think that's such a good point about efficient or proficient Maverick players. Derpe has been fantastic on the Maverick in terms of his efficiency and speed. Diesel for Wildcard is another one, and I mean, look how they're going. It's actually really critical on a map like Clubhouse, and maybe it is one major thing that dictates who is good and who is not. But you know what? Milo's taken down there in a trade. Does make it a 4 versus 4 coming into the final 40 seconds, and Derpe has already pushed up to this bathroom walls. This is great pressure from Sinister on this attack. The Knights are really up against it now coming into the final part of the round.
Derpe shooting above the reinforcement to prep a grenade, and it will be cooked as Fisho finds the pick. But that player inside a bathroom, being Strider, has fallen back. Still watching that breach that has been open. Juicy, I think, was getting aggressive, but he will get one. Dino with another, and now Sinister at the man disadvantage. A Vault comes through from Vinny, but he will be downed. It's Derpe left in a 1-on-2. Both of these Knight players content in sitting back as Derpe gets lit up, gets shut down. The Knights will take the round.
It's looking pretty good for Sinister, but the Knights has had great positioning, and this flank coming up from Juicy was very, very important in the end to winning that round. Just denying that push through Jim and assisting players entering Master Bedroom was fantastic. And now, guys, it's actually 5-4. It's looking close here. If the Knights manage to get this next round, not only is that 3 in a row, but we will be all square, getting very close to overtime.
This, for me, is the most key round so far on this map. We've spoken about it. Sinister sometimes have issues with their mental game. Their momentum-based playstyle thrives when they are winning rounds. They tend to struggle sometimes when it starts to go against them. And if they lose this next round, the scores will be even, and they are on the unfavored side. It'll start to really play in their minds a little bit if they're not careful. It's critical, I think, that Sinister win this round. Try and find some comfort in being on match point so they can just try and close out this map pick, try and get that 1-0 lead in the series.
I mean, on the flip side, you want to talk about momentum playstyle. The Knights were pretty much the same yesterday against Wildcard. At one stage, they were down 4-1 on Kafe, and they brought that back with almost 4 or 5 rounds in a row. I don't have my stats anymore, but they went on a huge win streak in rounds to bring it to overtime. It could be the same deal here if Sinister aren't careful. So I agree, this round is very critical for Sinister. Get them not only to match point and at least force an overtime, but just to stop some of the momentum that the Knights are currently gaining.
On the topic of momentum, unfortunately, Hayward going 1-8 so far. Hasn't been a great map for him so far. He'll be hoping to change that around, playing on the Jaeger, I believe, holding rafters. Again, a key position on this site. Josh finally spots out that drone and will shoot it out. The Sinister will now prepare to try and take the site.
Really going into this top-down clear as well, so this is really going to be where the Knights are going to win or lose the round. If they get absolutely smashed or slaughtered on this roam, can come back to bite them, but in the converse, of course, if this roam works out, and then Sinister are barely going to have time, potentially less bodies to bring up some kind of attack onto site. Real big roam here, 3 up on this top floor. Not even sure that it's worth Sinister hard pushing this, or if they've got the full intel, potentially not. It's going to be an interesting play here.
Keep in mind, this is a basement defense. This is not bedroom. The Knights have multiple players on the top floor here. Incredibly risky for Sinister to try and take them head on, but they're confident that they can find these picks, it appears. Minute 30 left in the round. Vinny still probing. Josh prone in bedroom. Could be an element of surprise in his position if he hasn't been droned out. Nico still on that Logi hatch as Juicy will get the entry onto Derpe, and it's falling apart here for Sinister. Josh popping off, and now it's a 1-on-5. Nico whiffing his shots will find the first onto Hayward, who unfortunately is having a bit of a rough map here. But his team is bringing this one back. Surely it will be a 5-5 scoreline, but Nico has something to say about it. Finds 2. But on a slither of HP, surely he will not be able to close this one out. Wary of his flank. Sinister mustn't have a cam or a drone, rather, holding that position. Nico is now tasked with the impossible.
Yeah, and there's not too much he can do about it either. The diffuser is upstairs, so it's not like he can decide to just try and leg it down and try and get a cheeky little plan or take the 1v1 on side or anything like that. He's just going to try and go for it. Drops the blue hatch. Sees no one there. He's going to walk straight into a gun in the church there, and that is the Knights squaring it up now, guys, at 5-5.
3 rounds straight for the Knights. All of that momentum that Sinister had gained on their defense is now well and truly being culled. It's been a rough couple of rounds for them, or a rough few rounds, rather. Desperately trying to find an opening here. Try and get onto that match point. This is, of course, Sinister's map pick. They've been pretty strong on this map so far. Some pretty good performances across the board, but unfortunately the last couple of days have been a bit of a struggle for them. The Knights doing a great job in bringing this one back.
Just to bring it back to round 10, the round we just watched, I just have to question from Sinister. Obviously the Mute Jam is playing havoc with trying to collect the intel, but there ended up being 3 roamers up there, and I feel like the call could have been to just not push it. I don't know whether they were really ever aware of what exactly they were pushing into. Quite clearly they weren't, I guess, because the Knights just absolutely slaughtered them. The Legion is playing next to that bed. Nobody had any idea, man. He just popped up and got 2 or 3 in the end. So I think Sinister next time could have just maybe pushed the site and just taken those gunfights. Regardless, they've got to push forward here. It's 5-5. Winning 3 rounds in a row, in fact, is more consecutive rounds won than Sinister had in their half. So if you want to talk about momentum game, the Knights have the most momentum of either of these guys in this match.
Someone from Sinister needs to step up here. Someone that comes to mind on this map that often performs quite well is Nico. He has been playing that buck. Maybe not quite having the same impact we've come to expect from him.
Bomb located by
But you can never rely on one person on Siege. It needs to be a combined effort. They just need to connect the dots. Not let their minds get the better of themselves. As an ADS will be expended. Derpe with a grenade. Again, will clear any utility over the wall as he tries to get this one soft.
Yeah, I think he's clearing the C4. You can hear it ticking off. It's a pre-place. Potentially a little trick there from the Knights that when you're opening that bottom line can just blow up in your face. So they've been using those frag grenades to clear that, which is good by them. Not sure whether that is something that they picked up in counter-strating or whether it was just simply droning it out and figuring out that's what they need to do. Regardless, efficient opening of Kennel's wall. It's a great start for Sinister. Vinny in construction essentially already. He's going to take an early gunfight to this smoke. Oh, Juicy is lucky to be alive at this instance, and you don't want to be losing your smoke player this early.
Especially considering Juicy elected not to use his gas grenades to slow down Derpe, who was Maverick tricking that main wall. Sometimes we'll see teams use that utility really early in the round, but Juicy is electing to use it late. Maybe to help deny the plan or the comp push, which Sinister are now attempting. Flashes go out. Derpe again getting to work on the wall. This one a little bit more awkward, a little bit riskier. And they may opt for Milo to get it open instead. He still has 3x Kairos in bank, and there we go. It will be opened out by the Havana.
Definitely not a great place to be the Maverick to sit and open that one up. You can't really get the angles that you do on Kennels to stay safe as you do it. They will have to clear that mute jammer, which now finally comes out, which means these X-Kairos can start to trigger. Yes, no, yes. Still trying to clear out Dino in this position in cash. That's more their priority. That's Nico below, causing a lot of havoc. That frag grenade missing the mark. He just runs into another bullet. Couldn't catch a break. 4 versus 3 though with these trades, guys. 30 seconds to go. This round looks almost ready to pop.
Plant being stuck by Milo as Josh on the Kaid will be taken down. It's a retake scenario now for the Knights. One at the top stairs and one on the garage rafters. Hayward finds his way in towards side, and Sinister will finally break the drought. They do get the map, or they do get the round win rather, and they are now on match point.
But just narrow, of course. The Knights only needing 1 round to force overtime at least, and given that they've already won 3 of the 5 rounds played in this half, got to be still feeling pretty confident. That being said, for Sinister to break momentum, boy did they do it in style in that round. It looked quite strong, quite aggressive in the end to explode onto site, getting the frags needed. They're actually going to repeat the site, guys, which, oh, that kind of baffles me, to be honest. I thought they'd be going to Gym Bedroom, considering how well that went for them last time.
Could come back to bite them. The Knights, of course, cannot afford to lose another round as Juicy, who I believe was auto-picked there onto Mozzie, or at least it was a very late pick, will switch on to the Pulse. The Knights have been electing to play him from below. No castles to speak of, though, which again makes that lounge position incredibly tough. Yes, it worked out last time, but that was a very close 1v1 against Vinny. Can't be relying on those all the time.
Absolutely not. And just another quick peek at the scoreboard here. Vinny out on 17-7-7. He is having a big game, and we highlighted a little bit that maybe he was quiet for Sinister yesterday. You summoned him earlier when he was still a little bit quiet at the start of the map, but here he is, really pulling Sinister through this. And on the other hand, there are 2 new players on the Knights that are in double digits there on the kill side. But one that is really going missing for Knights, who is normally a big fragger for them, is Hayward. Just 1, 3, and 10. He is really struggling right now against Sinister.
And harping back on that performance from Vinny so far, it's a little bit concerning for the Knights, who arguably may have banned that IQ as a target ban. Vinny's so often playing her on the entry. Proving, though, that he has some depth in his operator pool. Again, Derpe super efficient on this Maverick. Ultra straight lines, doing the exact same pattern every single occasion. Flashes will come out, grenade will follow, and that will be the C4 taken off the board. If Derpe wants to throw it. There we go, come on Derp. Oh, the C4 gets blown, so he doesn't even have to waste the grenade, which could come in handy later.
I'm finding this a really strange lack of adaptation from the Knights. I mean, that C4's been cleared the first 2 times that the attack was happening on this site, and now they've just wasted it again. That's 3 times that C4 has been 100% ineffective. And even just the use of that frag grenade to clear it, yeah, you could argue that's 1 frag less for them to use, but clearing a C4, I think, is almost more important in that instance. So not really sure why the Knights have been persisting with that one. Again, efficiency has been great for Sinister. That wall is open now. Still a minute 40 to play. They're in a good spot.
Hayward, though, he shows up big here. It's only his 2nd kill for the map, but it's a key one at that. The diffuser has been dropped. Dino gets one back as well, and the Knights are not going down without a fight. They want this one to go to overtime. Sinister struggling to close out their map pick. Fisho, he's over towards blue. Can't find that player harassing him. They're now left in a 3-on-5.
Yeah, talk about jinxing them. I said they're in a great spot, and then they just lose Milo and Vin like it was nothing. And so the Knights they're now in a great spot here with a minute to go. The diffuser is finally collected again by Nico. They were seemingly unsure where Hayward killed Milo from. They're going to now reposition. They've got a bit of work ahead of them in Garage. There's still a player on that catwalk. Strider also playing Oil Pit, so he can get that run up the catwalk stairs. This is definitely looking good for the Knights in this position. Sinister seemingly unaware of a lot of the spots that the Knights are playing.
Derpe finds one. A key pick at that. Sinister only now at a 1-man disadvantage. They have 30 seconds left on the board. Everyone on the Knights, though, has full HP. Fisher holding the critical cross will repel up. Nico may well join him here as the Knights are not giving this pick easily. Shots rain out. Fisher manages to dodge those. As the Knights position for the plan, a big nade from Derpe finds another. Fisho forced to just run in towards site. Low on HP as Nico gets dropped, and the Knights will close out the round, and it's time to head over to overtime. The Knights performing really well there in that final round of regulation.
It did, and I think Sinister just failing to keep tabs on where the Knights were playing. One of the first rounds, other than that Church Arsenal roam, where I felt like the Knights were really playing freely and playing more of their style. So that's a bit of a dangerous thing for them to awaken so late in the match. Sinister having to deal with that, but Sinister will be getting defense for the first round here, and of course the last one if we get to it in overtime, which based on how it's played out so far, that gives them an advantage.
I was going to say Nico on Vigil, question mark? That would have been quite intriguing, but Nico will 6-pick there onto Wamai. So we're going to see the Wamega combo in play. Castle on the board as well. So that is hinting at an upstairs roam. Sinister trying to take the fight back to the Knights.
Oh, do you see what I see, guys?
Wait, what?
Oh, I thought they were gonna do bait strat. No, don't worry, don't worry, it's not happening.
I was like,
I saw them all yeeting out of sight, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be bait strat, which would be ironic because they actually did it against the Knights in the regular season of 6 Masters.
Could you imagine? Oh, that would be the biggest BM I've ever seen in Comp Siege. If they did that OT in the playoffs of the elimination final, that would have been
10 seconds remaining.
yeah. I don't think they've done it since. They've done it once to the Knights.
Yep.
I don't think they've done it since. So maybe they could bank on team sleeping on it a little bit, but now is probably not the time to be experimenting with that.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. So, Excitement has reverted back to just calmly assessing what they're doing now. Looks like the roam is sticking this time, and they teased the roam in round number 1, way back when we first started. They dropped off it pretty quick. They just denied some of that intel collection, shot some drones, wasted the time, and then pulled back. Looks like they might be sticking it a little harder right now. Marlon just playing around far, shooting those drones. They're going to be using some of this utility just to open up the jacuzzi wall and potentially trap a roamer. And what's going to be critical here is, have they trapped a roamer? It doesn't look like it. So to be wasting some of this gas to open this up and maybe catch somebody off, not worth it right now. And this roam might be working out just like it did last time for Sinister.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members of Sinister on side or close enough to it. Pre-play C4 as well if the Knights try to progress towards the main stairs. So that's 1 minute and 10 seconds at least wasted here for the attack. Utility as well has been expended, trying to clear some of this roam. Ooh, C4 does go out, doesn't find its mark. It doesn't actually do any damage to the Knights, who will now begin to work on the hatches. Stride has been tasked with the Moto hatch in towards bar. Expecting Dino to likely be tasked with getting the kitchen hatch. Strider unlikely to have enough fuel to get both.
Yeah, I would say that's unlikely. And so far, they have been a little bit more efficient or a bit quicker than that previous round or that first round where we saw they really struggled with time because of the tease roam from Sinister. So that has worked out well so far. And we'll have to continue to collect this intel though. Clearing out some of these ADSs in blue is going to be very helpful because it will flush this player out and make them feel a little bit more sketchy about sitting in that spot. Just under a minute to go. Knights are going to have to continue this efficiency, and kitchen hatch is essentially the final hurdle. If they can get that open, they have as much control as they would probably like to be able to set up and execute.
45 seconds on the board. Strider might just have enough fuel to get an entry here. It's going to be pretty rough. I don't think he's going to have enough. That's just going to be a couple of peak holes. Does Strider realize he's got enough fuel? He shakes his head in disappointment. 30 seconds left on the board, and just that small delay there could be enough to choke out the Knights.
Absolutely, and it also brings back that point about using it Jacuzzi wall. But boy, what an entry, getting those first 2 picks. That's going to put them in a great spot now, guys. 15 seconds, Milo wheels around. They're going to have to fight back to save this.
Milo gets aggressive towards the stairs. The diffuser is stuck by Strider. The player at the main stairs will shut down Milo. And the Knights, against all the odds, will take their first attack in OT, positioning themselves to take the map.
That's the first time that Church Arsenal has been lost by Sinister in this entire map. And what a time to do that. It's going to put them now at this deficit. And the Knights, they're on defense. Will we see another attack round win, or will this be Knights stealing Sinister's map pick? I think right now is a great time to start talking about that again, guys. This is Sinister's map pick. This has been their strongest map in the regular season. And they might potentially be losing this in the first one of a best of 3.
Dangerous times here for Sin. It's a better time, or it is the best time to convert an attack. Then they can fall back on defense, at least attempt to fall back on it in the final round of OT. These last 2 days for Team Sinister have been incredibly rough. Staring down the barrel of defeat against the Knights, who only about 24 hours ago got 0-7'd by Wildcard. Something clearly not clicking for Sinister. Pressure is well and truly on.
Really is. This is the round to save it. Give them one final shot at securing the map in that 15th round. So we will see whether that pans out or not. The Knights have gone down to Church Arsenal, looking like they are going to stick a bit of a roam here, which was super detrimental to Sinister last time. They tried to push into it and absolutely failed.
Josh getting aggressive in garage. Trying to find Nico, who is bucking that garage wall. Does find refuge on the roof though. The rest of his team playing it quite conservatively as well. Again, keep in mind, this is a basement defense, but the Knights are roaming above. Similar roam clear at the moment from Sinister. Interestingly enough, Milo expending 2 of his ex-Pyros charges on that wall. That leaves only 1 for the rest of the round. And if Derpe is using his blowtorch...
Have they sold the bait strat to Sinister?
Sure. Nah, I don't think so. I think they're just trying to clear the roam, right? So? Surely. I think so. Oh, I mean, we can ask later, but I think, nah. I mean, either way, though, it's an inefficient use of hard breach, right? Because now Milo can only get 1 hatch. Derpe doesn't have a lot of fuel. Might struggle to get a hatch himself. And that only compounds the issues that they're having.
Yeah, and look, they're going to have to really get their skates on with this roam clear if that's what they are doing, because almost half the round gone, they're still in the middle of this roam clear, and we talked about maybe the inefficiency of that utility being used. That means they're going to have to think about even more how they're going to get to site. It really could just end up being a bit of a yeet through one entrance. See how it continues to play, but that is half the round gone. They finally got a pick onto Dino. So much ahead of them still to do.
I was concerned that they weren't aware of Josh's position, and there we go. He finds one, but Sinister will trade it out. It's Hayward and Strider left in a 2-on-4. Strider's had a decent map so far, but Hayward has been pretty quiet. Now is the time to step up, find some kills, try and close out this map. He sees a player, but the timing, it couldn't have been any worse. Unable to find that pick, and he gets timed again on a player crossing through bar. Hayward is going to be shaking his head watching the VOD back. So unlucky from him. And now Strider's tasked with holding off this push down the main stairs. He gets concussed. If he challenges this angle, surely he'll be shut down. But no, Sinister rotate in towards Moto. They now have 45 seconds to go for the plants. Vinny tries to stick.
Yeah, look, it's been a really good quick push here onto site. Vinny has got the plant down, so that is now the Knights with this retake. And the timer has been reversed against them here. Some shots coming out from Strider. He's under a lot of pressure. He needs Hayward to get back to site and help him out. He's going to put it on the back himself, though. Vinny gets him and gets the other. Sinister are going to force it to the final round here, guys. Full distance again on map 1, as was the case yesterday for the Knights against Wildcard.
Arguably the closest map we've had so far here in the finals, and Vinny keeps Sinister's dream alive here on their map pick. They can now fall back to their defense. The site choice, though, Raven, it's going to be critical, and it's looking like it will be CC Cash.
Looking back, they won it twice, lost it once in the first half on the defense. So I guess they looked at that and said, you know what, trending forward looks good for us. They just got destroyed on the Church Arsenal in round number 13. So may as well give something else a crack here. And to be honest, I think it's a great call because it's really just been a roll of the dice whether they have been able to open the Kennel's Wall efficiently on attack or not, the Knights. And if they can't, and Sinister deny that again, I think that's really going to put them in the box seat to win the map.
7-7 the scoreline. This is the final round. The winner of this map will get the advantage for the best of 3 series. Arguably, if the Knights win it, they'll have a greater advantage because then they'll be heading into their map pick next. On the flip side, Sinister, if they close this one out, will be feeling pretty comfortable as well.
10 seconds to go.
As this map has not really gone the way they'd expect. They really do not want to lose it after putting up such a great fight. Very hard to call this one.
Speaking of a great fight, Vinny has fought his way to a 20 bomb officially now. Could be on for a great final score here, depending how he goes off. See what happens. He's going to be playing Catwalk as the Kaid. Knights look like they're trending straight towards more of a construction push early. It's a bit different to what they've been doing. I mean, they've been rotating to it mid-round. Right now, that's where they've all repelled up from. Hayward is going to start to open the soft parts of Kennel's Wall, which will make Strider's job a bit easier when it comes to it.
Strider typically having a few more issues opening these walls in comparison to Derpe. Now's his time to shine. Try and open it nice and quickly. Try not to get Steve forward in the process. Doesn't look like Sinister are too worried though, letting it get opened, expecting it to be opened, as is the current matter. Strider gets the top open, and next up will be the bottom. Once this is fully exposed, that's going to make it difficult for Sinister to rotate in towards site, as Juicy will get that first pick.
Oh, Nico caught off guard there, and that is meaning Sinister is down a man. Going to the next phase of the round. Milo's going to drop below, so they're going to get aggressive, try and make something happen. He did try to flank last time as well. He was caught out in that drone and didn't finish the flank, but didn't die either. Derpe now is going to contest the Maverick trying to open the wall. It's still not open yet, guys.
Last time these two played on Clubhouse, it was an 8-7 in favor of Team Sinister. Now's the time to replicate this. They do not want to lose this map in the best of 3. It'll be devastating for them. But the Knights, they're honing in towards site. They have con control. These magnets are proving to be difficult to clear as Sinister are trying to find one pick back. Dope can replace it, trying to hold this shield. Strider gets C4 though. That's the diffuser down. That's a critical kill. Vinny has been massive in this map. How many more can he find?
Absolutely, and he's going to have to be ready for the Knights here. They're all stacking up around construction. They're ready to explode onto site. Dope sees them walk past the door, just misses his chance at a pick. He's just going to sit behind this shield and wait it out. There's a lot of utility coming in towards these players, but it looks like it might come down to a final gunfight. Push through to site. They can't get this wall open in time, guys. With only 30 seconds to go, it's really going to explode here in the final round of overtime.
Critically, that diffuser is still on the balcony. Josh, tasked with recovering it. Vinny can hold that from the rafters. Doesn't quite see him. Hits the shot though. Vinny going massive in this round. It's a 2-on-4 in favor of Team Sinister. Juicy and Dino need to clutch up. It's a 2-on-2. Not much time. They need to go for frags. That's one. It's now Derpe left in a 1-on-1. Surely he can just play time. Dino forced to stick the plant. Derpe can run around the corner. Hits the 360 knife. And Team Sinister will finally close out Clubhouse.
Oh boy, what a map to place on at the start here, guys. I'm lost for words at how that just transpired. That was absolutely insane. And you know what, speaking of insane, the performance from Vincia right here was phenomenal. He really stepped up and got the picks when needed and some crucial ones in that final round as well.
22 kills and Derpe summing it up perfectly in all chat. Deja vu. As I mentioned, the last time these two played in the regular season, it was 8-7 on Clubhouse in favor of Sinister. So history repeats itself. Sinister have the 1-0 lead in this series heading into Theme Park. Look, that was a little bit too close for comfort, but at least they got the map in the end.
Absolutely, and look, it really would have been devastating for them to have lost that map. That was their pick. It's their strongest, really, in their map pool from what we've seen in the regular season. So if they were to drop that, the Knights really would have been there ready to take the series. But they've held on. Maybe we'll see map 3 depending how the Knights go in their pick. But with the deja vu thing, it made me really think about that 7-8 match. I'm pretty sure that was the Derpe Doc Stim clutch match all the way back at the start of the season.
Yeah, if you guys haven't watched that clip, make sure you're following Rainbow Six ANZ on socials because that was absolutely insane. And I don't know, maybe Sinister have some magical aura that they can clutch up these final rounds on Clubhouse because again, they came up big. Vinny, what a map from him. That final round as well, getting 2 massive picks, dropping the diffuser both times on that main wall, really giving Knights no look in on that round.
Yeah, absolutely huge map from him. And no doubt, given that he was a bit quiet yesterday in Sinister's game, he would have been really frustrated with himself. And wow, he's really stepped it up and he's bringing it back tonight.
Well, that series was super close. It's time to go grab a drink of water. I need a break. We'll see you guys on the other side for Theme Park.
10 seconds remaining. Attackers have dropped the bomb. Attackers have recovered their diffuser. That bomb diffuser has been destroyed.
Please hold. Your call is very important to us. operators are busy at this time.
Anytime you're playing music for the crowd instead of yourself.
Stay up all night, and I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night, sleep through the sunrise.
G'day folks and welcome back from the break, and that is a break that we definitely needed. What a great matchup between Sinister and Knights on Clubhouse Raven. It was 8-7 in the end, Sinister taking the map, but boy oh boy was it too close for comfort.
It really was. It couldn't have got any closer. I'm pretty sure at the end it was really a 1v1 essentially because there was a player down on the stairs. So yeah, far out. Knights did a great job to claw it back. At the early stage, it looked like it was going to be Sinister's map for the taking, but it was the Knights in their grasp, just slipping away at the end.
Well, of course, it is a best of three series. Map number 1, Clubhouse, was Sinister's pick, Raven. Now, the second map will be Theme Park. That's Pittsburgh's pick. The big thing heading into this one is that the Knights have not played it once. They haven't played it at all in the entire regular season. So this could be a big question mark heading into the second map.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this map. It's going to be juicy because the Knights picked it. It was the decider last night against Wildcard, which we didn't get to see played out. And Strider said in the interview that they were really backing themselves going into it. So you got to think that they have prepped something on it here. And Sinister aren't a pushover on it. They went 5-7 against Wildcard way back in the first round of Six Masters. And they also smacked Kanga on it 7-2 in the mid-season.
Well, that's right. Well, Theme Park is, in Six Masters, the most recent map in the pool. We don't have Oregon in yet. So that does mean that Theme Park is going to have a lot of room for movement. We've seen teams not only within an ANZ, but internationally trialing new strats, getting pretty extravagant or, teasing some pretty exciting stuff. So maybe the Knights have plucked some of that stuff, injected some of their own theories, and we could see a pretty interesting matchup.
Potentially, yeah. And it's gone a few different ways. In ANZ, we've seen it be a little bit more leaning towards the defense, but definitely seen some matches globally as well that have been attacker favored. I think in general, the playstyle of it will work well for the Knights. They can be quite an aggressive, hard to track team, which we saw true on Clubhouse. Theme Park can facilitate that to an extent.
Well, of course, map number 1 was super close, but I don't think the poll vote was. Let's recap it. And it was Sinister who had a big lead. I'm going to stand by what I said earlier. I don't think that's indicative, and I believe we could go to the third map, which of course will be Kafe, and that's only going to probably tighten things up even more.
Yeah, and look, everybody's guess is as good as ours in terms of map 2 being Theme Park, because we literally have nothing to go on for the Knights. No idea at all how they might go with this. Just comparing their playstyle to the map in general makes me think they'll go well, but we know Sinister can also play Theme Park quite proficiently.
Well, it's time for the second map in the elimination final. It's Team Sinister taking on Pittsburgh. It's time to see some action on Theme Park. This one is sure to be a banger.
Absolutely. Sinister will be starting on the defense as well. As I mentioned, that has kind of leaned towards the defense side on Theme Park previously. So maybe you could say that favors them or not. See whether these bans make an effect. Thatcher will, of course, make it difficult to be opening up those reinforced walls. Potentially what the partner ban is, unsure. Knights banned IQ in the previous map. I question whether maybe that was a target ban onto Vincier, but I don't think so. He ended up getting 22 kills anyway, so I think it worked out.
Yeah, it didn't work out. We are going to see it actually come out again from the Knights, but Vinny was not afraid to adapt, playing Sledge primarily on the attack, and as he mentioned, absolutely popping off, and then on the defense as well. He had such a big round there. The final round of Clubhouse, he got 2 massive kills at the CC breach, dropped the diffuser both times, and kept his team in with a fight. The Knights will follow that up, though, on to a mirror ban.
He really was instrumental for Sinister, so see whether that holds true on Theme Park, or whether we'll see some others jump up there. Valkyrie being the final ban off the table here, which was very much the same on Clubhouse previously. In fact, these bans are exactly the same as Clubhouse. So these teams are already used to not being able to select those operators. I believe the Valkyrie is still total reflex to the fact that IQ is banned. And I just think that's a smart move, because they can be hard to find at the best of times, even with your scanner on IQ. Sometimes you do miss those black eyes, so just having that banned is going to be really helpful for the attack.
And I mean, as you mentioned earlier, Team Sinister did have a pretty decent performance against Wildcard, and in fact, in that matchup, it was the same bans. It was the Thatcher and the Valk taken off the board. So not straying too far away from that. Sinister did play it a second time late in the season against Kanga. That was a 7-2 victory, but unfortunately Kanga didn't have the greatest season, so that result probably not as indicative as that wildcard one earlier in the season.
Yeah, definitely hard to go by on that one. So we'll see how Sinister have gone. Last time they played it was quite a while ago. In fact, just looking here, Theme Park, 26th of May was the last time they played it, which, like you said, was Kanga. And they've had a few months to potentially work on some things. But as we've said so many times, the Knights have not played this. So speaking of working on things, you have to think they've been working on some pretty interesting stuff to be able to pick this in such an important series.
The key difference between that Sinister and Wildcard matchup to the one now is that this is being played on the Steel Wave patch, meaning that Carly is the one operator that really jumps out at me as being a lot more viable. The Knights electing not to bring her here on their first attack, despite Thatcher being taken off the board. They would have expected Thatcher to be taken out. Nearly every single map so far in the season, Team Sinister have banned him. So surely the Knights have thought of ways to counter that utility that I'm sure Sinister will be trying to use.
Knights looking to take their early map control on the west side here. They're going to have to contend with some of these Sinister roamers, though. Nico being the main one on the dock, playing in that top arcade. He's going to be able to shoot some drones and just push back. And this is really what we saw from Sinister on Clubhouse as well. They really do favor that early presence, shooting those drones and then pulling back. Looks like there might be an early contest there onto Nico, though. Really aggressive movement in through the cafe might result in an early gunfight.
Nico on the dock. I haven't seen him play a whole lot of dock, I don't think, this season, but definitely an operator I have seen him quite proficient on in the casual stacks. So we're trying to transfer some of that power now into comp. Kind of abuse that ACOG at the moment, trying to find a pick over towards Kafe, but the Knight's not giving it. Milo hasn't been droned? Surely not. Oh no. This could be devastating. Milo can just play sneakily as Nico, despite being droned, still finds a pick, and Milo can follow that up. Surely with the second, but he misses the shots. Hayward comes out on top of that gunfight, and now Nico can be taken out, but it's a wallbang. Oh my word, it's all popping off there in daycare, and this isn't even the objective. Nico's still probing for another pick. As Dino finds one. Surely they can flush out Nico. There we go, finally. Dino takes him out, and now Fisho and Derp are left in a 2-on-3.
That was, look, quite the mess there trying to take out Nico. I don't know what to focus on, but at the end of the day, the Knights have come out with a man advantage. 3 versus 2. They've got 45 seconds to go, and they've spotted out where that mute is playing on Derpe. He has a shotgun, so he can play close to that hole. Fisher's going to have to be able to hold his cross. But there are a lot of positions now that these guys can really be pushed into, and that's a great one there from Cash. That does leave it all up to Derpe. He downs one. But there's a lot of pressure coming in his direction now, all the way from waiting, and it's not going to be. They pinch him beautifully. The Knights starting Theme Park strong.
Knights able to counter the offside aggression that was horizontally held by Team Sinister. A valiant effort by Milo and Nico, but it wasn't quite enough. Great start for Pittsburgh. Getting that early lead on their map pick. And I know we're only one round in, but look, I'm settling in. I'm ready for a 3-mapper. I think this matchup really deserves the 3 maps as well, because these teams have been quite evenly matched.
For sure, and look to bring it even back more to the big picture here. The stakes involved. Losing this series means you are out of Six Masters playoffs, but also you miss out on the Oceanic mini major coming up next month that can net you 6 invitational points. So that is a huge deal. This is a really important series for both of these teams to stay in it. Sinister did manage to hold on to their map, but now the Knights need to get theirs so we can see that 3rd map.
We're going to see Team Sinister now attempt Throne Room for their second defense. It's a site that many touted as being incredibly difficult to attack, but as the meta has evolved, it has become increasingly important to hold it offside. And as you can see, Sinister with a lot of utility and reinforcements invested above,
Left before insertion.
trying not to forfeit that towards the Knights, who again will be tasked with clearing that. Again, not bringing the Kali. I wonder if there will be a point where they decide that's important, but I mean, they did win the first round, so maybe they just don't need her.
See what the Knights decide to do here with their push, whether they are going to hard push into this room. Didn't look like a lot of that vertical pressure was actually emphasized in the office, which is where you would expect it to be, because that's where you get the best vertical control in towards Armory. Some really nice early entrance here in the bottom into the storage drug lab area. It's going to be able to cut off flanks, but also it gets them in the building, and that is just such an important aspect. Taking that map control, not sitting on windows, not staying outside trying to work picks, just taking what you can and then build from there.
Milo again in a similar position to the previous round, getting aggressive over towards upper arcade. On this occasion, he has been droned out and is forced back. Dino and Hayward trying to clear this one out. There is a player over towards yellow, a defender, in fact, that they will need to be mindful of. Dino has the presence of mind to peek that. In fact, it's Nico on the pulse, switching out the dock. Juicy gets wide peeked, but somehow the double peek from the Knights will shut him down. Milo having a terrible start here on map number 2, really struggling on these early picks. Hasn't been a great start for him, as Strider will continue with that diffuser. Josh gets downed. Sinister now effectively in a 4-on-4 as more trades will ensue.
Yeah, there's a lot of gunfights happening in the first half of this round here. Josh has been downed as well. See whether the Knights can recover him or not. It looks like he will be safe to collect. So that will make it still a 4 versus 3 with the advantage going in favor of the Knights. About a minute to go. They have obtained a bit of control here. It looks like Sinister have all returned back to site. Knights will be able to start working some of these walls and working some angles so that they can potentially either get some frags for the execute or get a plant down.
Strider thinks about opening up the barrels wall, elects not to. Instead, he may rotate over towards yellow. Of course, that's the part of the objective where you can get vertical as well, and we do see Juicy above on the sledge, so he may well get to work on that eventually. The Knights just setting up here. Oh, that could be a very nasty claim, or Flisho hears it. Does he see it? Oh my goodness, he always walks straight into it. That would have been terrible. That is a very awkward position that he now finds himself in.
Absolutely, and it does have a potential opportunity to be able to get a quick pick onto Josh, who's the player that's been tagged low. He actually decides to move away. And with time really ticking away now, guys, the Knights just have to get a move on. They have to do something, push in, get these frags, put the pressure on Sinister. In fact, Sinister the one that fight back. 5 seconds to go. His plan's going to go down. Vinny stepping up, getting a double, and oh, it's all falling apart now for the Knights. Sinister get the round in the end, making it 1-1.
Some great groundwork there from the Knights, but unable to convert the round. They did everything right. Shutting down so many angles and isolating some of those players in on site, but as those entries came in, they lost those ones. And unfortunately, unable to convert the round. Sinister will pick up their first defensive win, and we'll now see the third site attempted. So Sinister not electing to re-attempt initiation, instead jumping over to bunk and daycare. But the way that the sites play out, it's sort of similar. If you're defending bunk daycare, these teams are likely to extend in towards initiation, maybe even office and waiting as well. So it's not majorly different in the way that the defend is set up. It's really going to be up to the Knights if they want to push it from, again, that initiation side, or sometimes we see teams put those late flanks over towards arcade.
I was a bit perplexed by the office initiation pick in that first round. It's really not commonly the first chosen. These top floor sites have become quite popular overall. But regardless, I don't think that really worked out for Sinister. And even the way that they held that roam, I felt a little bit strange. And not to pin it all on one person, but boy, if Milo had actually just hit his shots, I kind of feel like that first round could have gone quite differently.
Yeah, Milo. Maybe you didn't have a coffee before the game today. I don't know. I'll have to ask him later. Obviously, that is
Yeah.
his pre-game ritual. He does like his coffee. I know that.
I have
know
heard
that
he
for a
likes his
fact.
coffee, so
He does like his coffee. Indeed.
Moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Maybe he needs a coffee to reactivate. He didn't have a bad first map. In fact, he was actually, before Vinny really got going, one of the top fraggers. So he needs to try and find that form. Try and get back into this one. Playing the Jaeger. It's a great opportunity as Nico looks for an opportunity out towards the Kafe Balk. That would have been cheeky. A couple of goon mines outside as well. So Nico seemingly prepared to hold this, but instead will fall back.
nice early pressure there on Kafe Balcony. Looks like there's going to be a couple of Knights players taking control on that side of the map. Maybe the first floor, though, not electing for the Cafe push. What you would traditionally see, or what seems to be most common, at least, is to clear from that east side across. Again, taking that early map control where... Oh my lord! He just deleted Dino.
Oh, what? Oh my god.
That was
oh,
nasty.
wowee. That is a bra moment for Dino, who's just gonna be like, how did I just died to nothing. I'm sure that's what he just said in the comments. I just died to a ghost. That was ridiculous. Vinny's in red hot form. Holy
That very
Jesus.
much would be that situation where you'd be like, yep, boys, I'm dead. Just
Yep.
nothing else to say. Like, don't know what
Yep.
to do. I can't remember what I was talking about before, so.
Oh, I don't know if it matters. That was, yeah. Just throw strategy out the window. Just get Vinny to pick everyone like that, and you should be able to close this map out. That was quite incredible. Strider now looking a little bit scared trying to pick this. He doesn't want to fall victim to Vinny as well. He is actually playing into his hard right side of the vault, but it doesn't matter. Strider finds the first. Can he find the second? No, Vinny will actually win that. Why am I surprised? Diffuser down, and it's now a 4-on-3 in favor of Team Sinister.
Importantly, that is the diffuser in a pretty tricky to recover position because you can establish great crossfires there from over in waiting or initiation. Hayward's going to be pushing into waiting right to a prone Derpe with the shotgun out. No way you're going to win that gunfight. That makes it a 4 versus 2, looking very strong now for Sinister on this defense round. And there's still a bit of time for the Knights to get something happening. But just given the control in these positions that Sinister have set up, it's definitely going to be tough.
Vinny finds 3 in this round, and Josh is left to pull out a goo at the bottom of yellow. Vinny could well take him down as well. Instead, he is going to rotate over towards Dragon. I'm expecting the Knights are using this as a little bit of attack timeout. 20 seconds on the board, and Josh really can't do anything in this current position. It's an unwinnable round, as the Knights will try and reassess what went wrong.
15 seconds remaining.
Sinister doing a great job to bring back a map that was looking like it may not
10 seconds remaining.
go this way in that very first round where they struggled, but they have shown up here. Team Sinister will close out that round. Milo will get his first kill, I believe, here on Theme Park, and it's a great round for Sinister.
Huge round from Sinister, but look, huge round from the man on fire, Vinny. He ended up getting 3 kills in that round, and really important ones. The weight of those was great, and you said Knights must be wondering what they did wrong. I think it's just not figuring out where Vinny is and avoiding it because he is just hitting his shots, and right now that looks quite dangerous.
Well, if you want to know the secrets of Vinny, he told me that apparently his pre-match ritual is just listening to music. So that's all you got to do. Just listen to some motivational music, and you'll be hitting shots like that in no time. It's 100% success rate. Don't doubt it.
Protect your bombs from being
That's all it takes, man. Just listen to music. Wow, that's nuts.
Yep. If
Oh,
only
I
it
have to give
wasn't
that a
easy.
try sometime. I've never
Yep,
tried
yeah.
listening to music. So.
Oh no.
Look, whatever it is, you can't question it because he has been on fire tonight in general. And as you said at the start of the night, he placed second in the overall MVP for the entire season for Snowball Esports. Ethan did manage to get on top there, and rightfully so. But look, Vinny's had a great season, and he's had such an impactful series right now. If Sinister do make it through to the next round, well, you can credit a lot of that to the way that Vinny has been able to play.
5 seconds to go. Attackers are
Time for the Knights to step up here. This is their map pick. We expected them to be quite strong on this map, and I mean, yeah, the scoreline is pretty close, but the last few rounds haven't. Sinister have been able to play quite confidently, and we know that's when Sinister look their most dangerous. when they're just playing fluidly and playing the way that they want to on their terms. It's up to the Knights to try and unravel that and try and instill some fear in Team Sinister.
In terms of round count, you'd have to say if the Knights manage to get 2, even 3 of these attack rounds, they're really in it because Theme Park does feel to be a comfort for the defenses so far. That being said, Sinister do know how to attack this. They've played it a little bit before, performed well on Theme Park before. And to put some more light into questioning the Knights' form, usually map 2 for them is their weaker map. We talked about that earlier, that maybe it's a mindset issue for them. So hopefully they can buck that here and try and bring this back.
Derp in a great position. Still has 2 ADS devices to assist. Both of those are still active. You can tell because the red light on top of them is still shining. There we go, MC. Oh, thanks, MC. I think there's a magnet as well on the other side if you flip the camera around.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of utility that needs to be expended, but oh, that doesn't matter when you can clear it from below. That is a great counterplay by the Knights. The C4 comes out though. Derpe will find that pick. Doesn't damage the other though, so it's not the worst loss. But it is a loss nonetheless, and the Knights now do have a man disadvantage.
I tell you what, if he got that about an extra half meter out the doorway, I reckon that was a double. Juicy is lucky to be alive right now. Hayward has managed to find a trade onto Milo. He's having a bit of a rough map so far on the Jaeger. Makes it a 4 versus 4 with around a minute to go. Of course, the round that the Knights did win earlier was an attack onto office initiation. It's definitely possible for them. Juicy storms through, gets another. It's looking pretty good for them in this final 50 seconds here.
Dino downed at the top of yellow, but the res is surely possible, and there we go. Josh will commit to that. They will have to collect the diffuser though. Nico isn't holding that angle anymore though, so it should be a safe collection, and Dino does tuck it under his arm. Fisher going in a very strong position over towards initiation as Nico picks up another. He's popping off at the moment with his MP5, but Juicy finds a double. A dangerous scenario now, but Nico goes big. That's another for him on the board. Can he find a third? He does. That's massive. He pulls out the pistol. Keep in mind, the diffuser is down. Hayward needs to collect it. He has a little bit of time, but instead, he's going to go for frags. There's one to his hard right. That's Fisho guy. He sees him, but he unpeaks it at the wrong time. Misses the shot. And Sinister will collect the round.
Yeah, Hayward just really had to commit to the peek around that corner. He almost caught Fisher off guard, which would have given him a 1 versus 1 against Nico. And look, speaking of Nico, wow, he got woke in that round. He hit a great triple. Some really fine shots from the dock with the ACOG. That's a full sweep of sites now for Sinister. That's 3 in a row. It means they can now head back to Throne Armory.
Look, I've definitely seen a lot of wild clips from Nico on Twitter, on the dock. A couple of wild spawn peaks, but I mean, this is where it really counts in comp, that's for sure. And so far, he's been showing up big. 3 massive kills. Dropping the diffuser as well in the process, which really can stagnate an attack, and in that case it did. 3-1 the lead. Team Sinister holding strong.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Strong indeed. And their hold on Throne Armory last time was pretty strong. Given the way the Knights tested it, they roam cleared quite well. They put a lot of damage into some of the Sinister players, but even then, when the Knights tried to push the site, would not get anything happening. Speaking of getting something happening, they'll have to try and summon something here. This is the Knights map pick. We were questioning what that might be about. They haven't played it all season. We had no idea what to expect from them, and so far, they really have been struggling quite a bit with these attacks.
5 seconds remaining.
I mean, many would expect Theme Park to be defender-sided, but there have been regions like Japan, for example, where it has actually been quite attacker-sided. ANZ on the flip side, for the most part, has actually been defender-sided. So look, on a like-for-like basis, the Knights aren't trailing by too much, especially if they can win the next round or 2. But I think the way that Sinister have been approaching this map and the confidence that they have brought to the table after what was a pretty ordinary map 1 is a little bit scary for the Knights.
Absolutely. Hopefully their mindset is strong. This push through from Josh is going to find the pulse, but almost missing his shots. Nico did fire back. Tagged him a little bit, but not enough to worry him. It's a great start from the Knights in the round. Even better made by Dino. Milo really is having rough of it, not having much of an impact with these early parts of the round as the Jaeger. So 5 versus 3. The Knights are sitting good now to potentially take this round, see whether they can close it out. They've got a long time ahead of them with 2 minutes on the clock.
Fishogo tries to spray through the drug lab wall, doesn't find his mark. Look at the timer though, Raven. So much available in that department for the Knights to work with. 1:40. That is so much time. They have a massive man advantage as well to work with, so they can methodically drone out these players and really cut them down. That's Vinny taken off the board. You really want him up in these scenarios. He's been playing so well this evening, but unfortunately his life is cut short, leaving Fisho and Derp in a 2-on-5.
Really is going to be tough from this point on for Sinister. Fisho is under a lot of pressure now on site from these drones. Very much aware of his position. They've got vertical control, so they're going to be able to shut him down. Derpe is now trapped in this lockers room. The attackers just hold that long angle. It's going to be hard for him to cross. And he just gets out for free. Running into a vertical angle, though, means that his life has ended. And it's going to be up to this final fight in Dragon. Not to be for Sinister, the Knights get a flawless round, in fact. And that will bring it to be a 3-2 scoreline.
Good recovery there from the Knights as they try and even out the half. It is, of course, still possible if they win the next round here, round number 6. In that case, it would be a 3-3 split. And on Theme Park, on attack, that'd be a very, very good result. I don't think the Knights will want to settle for much less, again, considering it is their map pick. Sinister will be looking to try to extend this lead. They're going to go to Bunk and Daycare. For this next defense, we have seen them defend it once already successfully, so they'll be looking to try and replicate that here.
Was a strong round from Vinny. That was the one where he ended up getting that 3K. So see whether that reoccurs or not. I imagine that Sinister are going to pretty similarly replicate the way that they roam, and that is holding over towards office initiation. Knights elected to push into that and also drop diffuser that side with Vinny on that opening kill. Ended up being really detrimental for them. So maybe they'll try and do it a little bit differently here. Of course, Cafe Arcade is another way that you can try and push onto this Bunk Daycare site.
Attackers have located a bomb.
We've talked about Milo a little bit here on map number 2, currently going 1, 2, and 4. A lot of those deaths being the opening as well, so it hasn't been a fantastic start for him. I guess at the very least he is providing utility with those ADS devices, but when you have the 416 in hand, you definitely want to be trying to get a couple of picks as well. So hopefully he'll be able to step up here.
Objective is to defuse the bomb.
I think the great thing for Sinister is, though, that on the occasions where he has died early, more often than not, the rest of the team has been stepping up, which of course is important. You don't want to be relying on just that one player to be doing all the work.
Oh, absolutely not. And that is the great thing about Sinister, is their team has been working really well together in general in this series tonight. Stepping up, of course, there is that player excelling in Vinny, but at the end of the day, Theme Park has been quite the team effort. Nice swift entry again from the Knights below, taking some of this early map control, just helped them establish a foothold. They can start to drone through and decide where to push. Bypassing that vertical hole, it's going to be helpful for them to make some progress. It's all just a matter of whether they decide to push this roam or not. If you look there, there's 4 players really camped over on that east side of the building. Quick enough to rotate back to site, but Nico is in fact the only one that's really hard holding the site at this stage. So the Knights could see that. Maybe they'll opt to do quite a quick attack here that could catch Sinister off guard.
That's exactly right. Nico could find himself under the pump. Depends how hard the Knights decide to commit to this side of the map. Looks like they have done some comprehensive droning, so they should be aware of the heavy holdover towards the initiation and waiting side of the map. But some of these players have rotated. That's a great shot from Fisho. Perfectly timed and juicy. Will not be happy with that one. Killed with the nade in hand, and that's not a great start here for the Knights, who again are trying to even out this half.
Yeah, it's not a way you want to die, just getting peeked on by the SMG-11, especially as an attacker. Like Sledge with the L8, you got to back yourself with that kind of gun. Dino's going to use one of those breach charges to open the wall and put some pressure onto site here. The Knights look like they're just going direct this time. And oh, just missing that shot onto the prone player Doesn't come back to bite him though. Dino gets 2 there, makes it a 3 versus 3, and the Knights are looking good now on this round, Guz.
How many more can Dino find? It's 2 for the round. He could find another in towards break. He pre-fires, but misses the shots. Both players, in fact, whiffing. Plant yet to go down. More shots hit. Nico lit up and gets downed in the end. Josh finishes him off. It's Milo and Vinny. 2 great players in their own right to try and hold this one off. They have decent positions. It's going to be difficult for the Knights to get this plant down. The sights are exposed. Milo drops. Not sure if intentional or not. He could try and flank up Arcade, but that air jab will alert Knights to his presence. Strider now sticking the plant. Vinny. So many angles that he needs to be aware of as Moloska is still playing below. Needs to be careful of more flank watch, and that's a drone. There's a player to his hard left in barrels. Oh, he almost flicks the shot. Both players whiff, but it will be the Habana on top in the end. And now it's Vinny in a 1-on-3. He finds one, but he can't find the second, and the Knights will take the round.
Great attack from the Knights in the end, and I liked the simple, no-nonsense push from them. They just went direct. They saw that there was such a heavy presence on the other side, which really failed for them last time when they tried to clear it. So why not? Just keep it simple, go for those gunfights on site, and all you have to do is just win a couple of those, and it's yours. And that's really what happens there. So great read from them, and to get a 3-3 half on their attack, I think is quite good from the Knights. And now this is going to be the danger zone for Sinister. They're going to have to be confident and efficient with these attacks to be able to save this map.
Armory and Throne will be the first side of choice here for the Pittsburgh Knights. We did see this side appear a few times in the first half. Mixed results.
Need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
I'm expecting the Knights to innovate here on defense, of course. This is actually the first ever time they have played it in Six Masters 2020. They didn't play it throughout the regular season. They didn't end up playing it yesterday because it was the decider and they lost to Wildcard 0-2. So expect them to bring some spicy stuff to the board here, particularly on the defense.
Thanks, Throne Armory at first, and oh, look at this little strat here. They're not going to play a hard wall for barrels. They're keeping it open. They want to move freely.
5 seconds to insertion.
Could really be quite the strange strat for Sinister to face up against. The fact they've brought the Kali, though,
Locate a bomb and
makes me think they are going to be going straight for maintenance here. Look, they've all spawned this side, so it looks like a maintenance wall opening is going to be the play for them. See how they continue to approach here. Still some setup happening for the Knights on that top floor. Just saw a reinforcement popping up through the outline. Maybe it will be a vertical clear coming out from Sinister.
The only other time I can remember that barrels wall being opened was LFO on their defenses against Wildcard in the regular season. And to be honest, it did produce mixed results. Maybe not quite having the intended effect that LFO wanted. Not sure whether or not the Knights have looked at that and tried to refine that or had their own thought process behind creating that rotate. Either way, though, it's something to keep an eye on, as the Knights will try and extend the hold across the map.
Quite interesting, they're not playing hard in initiation, which is also quite common. So that means that Sinister can take that control at least. It's really more office that they will be wanting to take, or office waiting. Oh, just avoiding those bullets was Derpe. Took a few of them, but nothing lethal at this stage. They're going to be quick opening this bunk wall, and Hayward's going to have to get out of there so he can save himself, which he does. Still 5 versus 5. This clear is working out quite well from Sinister so far.
These roamers on the side of the Knights given good freedom, really, to run around and do what they want at the moment, do as they please. Sinister do have decent control above, but you also need a horizontal presence if you want to take this site, especially if Sinister have identified that barrels wall as being soft and as a potential entry point that can be used against the defenders. Nico will try and get some of that verticality going. That time continues to run down.
Of course, as you're doing out as a sledge, you really want to be careful of those C4s, if there are any on the site. There's still a player from the Knights playing around Drug as well, so if Sinister aren't aware of that, that could come back to bite them. Looks like a drone actually just popped in through the drone hole and spotted that. Yeah, there's Derpe that's seen Hayward there. Josh finally gets an opening frag for the round, though, onto Fisher Guy. He overextended, and with 40 seconds to go, Sinister still don't really have a whole lot going for them on a push to site.
Molosca, I believe, got the call from Derp that there is a player here on yellow. And Milo's going to flash that player out, and he just runs straight into the wall. Derpe picks up one as well off screen. So it is a 4-on-3. Team Sinister do have the man advantage. They're going to try and use that to open up the yellow wall. It doesn't appear as if Sinister are going to try and push barrels. We know that that was soft with the rotate. Instead, opting to go for more of a traditional A push, the Knights will need to adapt on the fly in response. 5 seconds left as the push comes through. Milo will find another pick for Sinister. They still have that man advantage, but with the bullet hose, Strider goes massive, and he can just play time. Surely not! Team Sinister can't find him hiding in the corner. They're still looking for him. That's such an unfortunate turn of events for the attackers, and Strider just playing that one perfectly.
Yeah, they really didn't account for somebody playing that side of the armory behind the furnace, and Milo was the one with the diffuser by himself. The rest of them all entered from Dragon. That really came back to bite them. It was a good attack in the end from Sinister. I mean, they had a solid man advantage. They pushed through to site. Given that it was just through doorways in the end, worked out a treat, but one player they did not account for, and it cost them the round. So the Knights, in fact, take the lead, Guz. That's the first time on the map. They're going to now be able to rotate. They're going to lab and storage, which is probably the least picked site on Theme Park.
All right. I don't think I've actually ever casted around on this site at all, ever. So this is going to be quite enthralling. I'm very keen to see how the Knights try and set this site up. It's basically never picked in matchmaking, very rarely picked in competitive. So the Knights are really treading on new ground on this objective. One thing to note as well, and I'm sure you'll be very excited to see this Raven, is Vinny will be jumping onto the Kali. First time we'll see her this evening, or at least on this map rather. Which will throw a spanner in the works for the Knights to deal with.
I mean, speaking of a spanner in the works, guys, actually, Vinny played Kali last round. So I was already super excited. Yeah, he did.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Second round. Yeah,
that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
No problem. But look, I agree, and I think he's a great player to be using the Kali, given he's just been sharp tonight. You want your sharp players to be on Kali because her sniper rifle is probably a bit of an acquired taste, you would say. Some players might really struggle to use it. That secondary SMG is fantastic. Then this is a rush. Oh, pushing straight to site. It's getting repelled pretty well though by Knights here. Looks like they've read into it. Vinny has assisted the retake, and it means that the Knights are gonna have to try and push back through bathroom here.
Oh, so close there. Strider takes off Vinny's head as he wide picks it with that sniper. Nico now left to cover the plant from Derpe as Fisho gets taken out. Nico left in a 1-on-2. He can't find that second player inside of bathroom. It's Strider to take him out. The rush unsuccessful for Team Sinister.
So close to working out as well, and it just looked like the first player in, I didn't quite see who it was, ran straight into an unknown defender. And I feel like if you're going to rush into a site, you got to know exactly where those guys are and be ready to pre-fire that. That first kill was so critical. It just meant that Sinister never got that clean entry in, facilitated that Knights retake. Well, they've extended their lead now, and it's in dangerous territory, guys. 1 round away from forcing overtime. It's in fact the 4th round in a row that has been won by the Knights.
Things not looking great here for Team Sinister. We knew there were going to be some question marks heading into this map, and the Knights fully abusing that there. That last round on a site we don't often see. Sinister maybe a little bit overconfident, thinking that they can just rush that site. The Knights not expecting it. But in the end, they were able to adapt, shut that down, and now they are a single round away from that match point. If they win this map, the Knights, we will head to the decider. It will be Kafe. I mean, if this series hasn't been close enough so far, boy oh boy, it'll tighten up on that final map. It's up to Sinister to try and close it out here on Theme Park, though.
See what they have in store for us. Knights now defending bunk daycare.
5 seconds left.
Be their 3rd consecutive site rotation in a row, and of course a sweep of sites, if you want to call it that, if they do manage to win it. Sinister haven't looked shabby with their attacks, though. I mean, the first one on Throne Armory was essentially theirs to take, right? It just came down to Strider playing beautifully, tucking away in that corner and saving time. And Lab Storage was the rush. And, you know, rushes are generally just a bit of a 50-50. Didn't work out for Sinister on that occasion. See what they've got for us for attacking this site.
I really thought Strider was going to pre-fire through that hatch then and maybe net a kill, but he doesn't. Of course, he doesn't have the X-ray vision that we do across the entire map. Oh, okay. Vinny somehow survives that with not taking any damage. He'll be counting his blessings after that one. Carly's still on the board. Would have been devastating if Vinny, again, the top performing player arguably on this team for not only tonight, but the entire season. If he was off the board, would have put a lot of pressure back on the rest of his team, but does survive and can now use that lance to great effect.
So far, Sinister just taking their time to work around where these defenders are situated. A HP traded off, and we're almost at the halfway point of the rounds. They've got some good control here towards Cash and the top of Dragon, so they can push through to waiting in office. But of course, that isn't even the objective. So if they are hard pushing this roam, they've got to make something happen sooner rather than later, because they've still got ways ahead of them to be able to actually take the site ready for a plant. A lot of players waiting for them here in the office, and there's a good crossfire at the top of yellow that is established.
Sinister getting choked out here in a similar fashion to how they did against Wildcard in the regular season. It's getting stalled out here over towards Control and Cash. Of course, it's not easy to push these locations, but that's a great pick from Fisho. Hayward has just been having a shocking night tonight. Really unfortunate for him. Wasn't a great map one, and the second proving to be quite difficult as well. But there are still 4 members on the board for the night, some strong positions to hold as well. And like you mentioned, Raven, Sinister still have a long way to go to make it in towards site.
And they're down in dangerous territory with 45 seconds to go, and there's still so much ahead of them and so much to deal with. Like a C4 that just blew up in Fisher's face means it's a 4 versus 4, and they still don't have that real solid progress so that they can actually either work a plant down or force some picks. It's going to be a tough 30 seconds for them to be able to close out this round, and if they don't, the Knights will be on match point.
Flashes fly out from Derpay. Oh, that's unfortunate timing. He gets risky and tries to take out the barbed wire. Somehow isn't shot. He pre-fires the angle. It's the wrong one, but he still finds the pick somehow and isn't retraded. But the Knights will find a couple picks. Vinny getting aggressive now with that SMG is shut down. Derpay will retrade that, though. It's a one-on-one. 5 seconds on the board. Derpay can still win this round. Strider's on a slither of HP, but can he find him in time? The Thermite hits his shots, but he misses into the backpack of Strider, who re-peaks it. Probably not the wisest of decisions, but he gets out on top in the end, and the Knights will take the round.
Oh man, we've had so many instances where timing has just not worked out for some of these players, and that was just yet another one. Derpay was probably not even half a second, quarter of a second away from catching that Maestro, crossing that doorway, not even looking. It really could have been Sinister's round yet again. But guys, that is it. They're 3 rounds behind, and Knights are on match point. So if this is going to be a Sinister map, they've got to go all the way in overtime.
Whoa. Definitely some heart-pumping stuff so far. At least for me, I can't imagine the pressure that the players are under at the moment. Of course, to recap the stakes for this match, the loser of this best of 3 will be knocked out of the tournament. The loser of this best of 3 will also not qualify for the Oceanic mini major. That's only the top 3 teams. If you lose this, you'll be 4th. It's just not good enough. If the Knights win this map, we head to Kafe. If Sinister somehow win 3 rounds straight, we'll head into overtime, and they could well bring this one back. But judging on their first 3 attacks, Raven, I don't think that's looking likely.
Oh, it's not feeling like it. I mean, their attacks haven't been terrible, but they are lacking a bit of polish there, and the Knights are just holding too strong on defense. Again, just to look forward for a second here, if we do go to the decider, it is Kafe.
10 seconds to go.
And both of these teams are at a 2-2 win-loss for that map. So if you want to talk about a fitting conclusion, a map that they are both even on in terms of the regular season and the way that it's played out, I think it really would be fitting. So if we get there, I'm really excited about it. But potentially 3 rounds ahead of Sinister to force an overtime or not, we will see.
It's time for someone from Sinister to step up. Vinny has had a pretty good second map here, not quite as influential as the first. Sinister definitely feeding off that power on Clubhouse. Maybe not quite having the same effect here on Theme. Neither team really has had a massive player step up though, so you can't fault Vinny or Sinister for that. They now try and enter again, sweeping from the eastern side of the map. The objective, of course, is thrown downstairs. So Team Sinister on the attack will try and gain control above. What's the roam looking like? It's looking like it'll just be Juicy above with Hayward. 2 on site. Hayward has had a pretty shocking series tonight, quite unlucky on multiple occasions. So hopefully for him, he can go big here. He'll need that confidence boost for that third map if we go there.
Absolutely. About to be a gunfight here. But you know what I really want to talk about right now real quick is an insightful change is that Milo's actually gone into that Kali. I feel like Sinister have just identified that while Vincia has been really sharp for them tonight, he hasn't been able to have the fragging power on these attacks so far because he's played that Kali. He's had a utility role to fit in, and it's just can be a little awkward to frag on sometimes. Not awkward though, as Fisher has pushed through with the Ash. He'll get the opening pick onto Juicy, taken off the board. So that's Sinister with an early advantage now. Minute 20 to play, so they got some good control vertically. Start to use that to punish the Knights.
Josh probing below, using that cardiac sensor to gather some nice intel. Very aware that there's a push above Hayward though. I mentioned he's been quiet. Manages to pick up Fisher. It's a good trade. A late trade at that, but in the end, Fisher did only get the single kill. 55 seconds on the board. Diffuser still above, and Josh again below, gathering a lot of that intel.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
IQ, of course, was banned. So Sinister unable to really detect or locate exactly where that pulse is without droning it, which could pose some issues. Oh, that's some bullet holes. Vinny manages to scathe away, but the call's going to come out that he's pushing through bathroom, surely. There's a player inside of Drug. Is that player being revealed? Vinny will pre-fire it. Shots miss. Hayward is going to get aggressive. Finds the pick. How many more can he find? That's 2. 3 for the round in total, and the trade will come through, but it's Nico and Derp now left in a 2-on-3.
Just a little desync there with Sinister. If they just waited that extra 1 or 2 seconds for Nico to get that vertical position, they could have really turned that engagement on its head. And now they're going to have to get aggressive onto side. The angles are held beautifully by Knights, and not to be, they will secure the round and the map, Guz. And that means we will get a 3-map series right now to find out who will be the first out of 6 Masters playoffs.
That leaves the series 1 apiece. That second map definitely controlled more so by the Knights than the first map was by Team Sinister. So they have some great momentum heading into Kafe. And as we alluded to, both these teams have played Kafe 4 times in the regular season, won it twice, lost it twice. I don't think it gets much closer than this.
Yeah, and look, we were expecting a close series here, and it is delivering. And we never knew what we were going to be expecting on Theme Park, at least with the Knights picking it, and the fact that they hadn't played it yet in the regular season. They've come out with a pretty strong 7-3 victory on it, so that's worked out well for them. Yeah, Kafe is going to be a very tight map, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure the Knights will be happy. That's a 100% win rate for them on Theme Park because, again, they didn't play it at all during the regular season. So to come out to beat the second-seeded team on that map, great result. And it definitely looked like I mentioned just earlier that the Knights are in control a lot more so on that map than Sinister were on their victory earlier tonight.
Absolutely. And I think that comes down to a lot of different things. I mean, we know that the Knights were also seasoned players on Clubhouse, and that it was also a tight contest between those two teams on Clubhouse earlier in the season, whereas this was real fresh. Sinister couldn't really counter-strat what the Knights had up their sleeve. It might be different for Kafe, and maybe that is something that will factor into how it plays out.
Well, that does leave the series 1 apiece. On the other side of the break, it'll be the final map. It will be Kafe. We'll see you soon.
drop the bomb. Attackers have recovered their defuse. Attackers have located a bomb. 10 seconds.
Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
They can try, but can do it like Vinny. Yeah, no permission. I got it.
I've been working part-time jobs, chasing all my dreams now lately. No matter if I try too hard, nothing's ever enough, baby. No, I don't care too much. I don't care too much. As long as I can keep you by my side, I don't care too much. We got time, no rush. In your eyes, I always see there is something meant for me. In your eyes, I always feel different.
G'day folks and welcome back from the break. It's almost time for the final map here between Team Sinister and Pittsburgh in the elimination final. It's do or die for both of these teams, and Raven, it has been a banging series thus far.
It really has. It's been so tight between these two teams. I mean, map 2's scoreline looked like a bit of a strong performance from the Knights, but I really feel like Sinister's attacks weren't terrible. Some of those rounds could have been theirs. The Knights were just the ones that were able to close them out, and that does bring us to the third map.
Of course, quick recap, it was 8-7 Sinister on Clubhouse, 7-3 Pittsburgh on Theme Park, and as you mentioned, we now head to Kafe. We teased it earlier. Both these teams have played an identical amount of times. That's 4 in total throughout the regular season. And funnily enough, they both won it twice and lost it twice. So this is shaping up to probably be one of the closest maps we've ever seen here in Six Masters.
Could be, or maybe it will end up just being strong one way or another. It's really hard to tell, but everything points to the fact that this could be a long map to close out what's been such a good series between these two teams. There is so much on the line as well. I think that's really important to bring up again. The stakes are huge for this match, and neither of these teams want to be bowing out now, and they also want to be finishing top 3 for that extra spot in that mini major in August.
Let's do a quick recap of the community poll and check in on how you guys at home are going with the prediction. And it was 79% in favor of Team Sinister, but again, this is anyone's game. It's 1-1 in the series. Whoever wins this next map will take it all. Whoever loses will finish 4th, and as you mentioned, they won't qualify for the mini major, and more importantly for this tournament, they're completely knocked out.
Yeah, they want to be able to go forward. They want to be facing Okami tomorrow for a chance at the winner's bracket, or the grand final, which gives them the big prize pool, the big money in Six Masters. It's all coming down to this map, guys.
It's been an incredible series thus far. It's Team Sinister taking on the Pittsburgh Knights. It's map number 3. Kafe Dostoyevsky will be the battleground. Boy, oh boy, this is going to fire up.
Well, and it's again the Knights starting on attack. I want to point that out. All 3 maps tonight, the Knights have started on attack. So it has been very consistent there. We'll see whether it works for or against them here on Kafe. Sinister will get the first ban though. They've banned Thatcher all night, and that's going to persist. They're going to ban Thatcher off again. What we've seen from the Knights in the previous 2 maps was an IQ ban on attack and the mirror on defense. We'll see whether that holds true for this month.
And there we go. So same attacking bans across all 3 maps so far this evening. So some consistency in that regard. In terms of the defensive bans, it's been a bit of a mixture. In fact, it hasn't been a mixture. It's been Valkyrie Mirror every single map. Mirror will be followed up here by the Knights. So Valkyrie is banned here by Team Sinister. It's going to be 4 identical bans across all 3 maps.
Seems like it. Wait and see for this Valkyrie to be locked in for the final one. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is, because Valkyrie is also strong at Kafe, and without the IQ, might be a pain to deal with. Sinister are going to do it. So, yep, identical bans. All 3 maps, guys. Keeps things nice and even.
Indeed it does. And this is shaping up to be such a tight map. In fact, this is the first series of the entire Six Masters 2020 finals that has gone to 3 maps. All of the series leading into this one were 2-0s in favor of the victor. This one, of course, will be a 2-1 victory to whoever wins this map. So it really has been a close one. Funnily enough, during the season, these matches weren't as close. They played together, or they played against each other in Playday number 3. Map 1 was a Clubhouse 8-7 in favor of Team Sinister. Map 2 was a 7-2, again in favor of Team Sinister on Coastline. And I guess the scorelines have been kind of similar, but the teams have not been in terms of victorious maps.
That's right. So, see how it plays out on map number 3 here, and arguably the biggest stakes of the entire tournament in terms of teams, matches, etc. Sinister electing to go to reading first. This is becoming quite a comfy site for a lot of teams. There's quite a high win percentage for the defense on reading. That's where they're going to start, and maybe just throwing the Knights off a bit from the get-go is their aim. Like they're going to be extending quite traditionally vertical here, delay a lot of time with this vertical clear. The Knights have previously, though, against Wildcard, elected not to push that roam, and they went straight through mining, train, and to dining. So we'll see whether that's something that they pull out against Sinister.
Nothing too wild coming out in terms of attacking picks. The only real interesting one to note is maybe Dino and Capital, an operator that in the current meta hasn't been overly represented really. Sort of when that shift came away from smoke planting. He dropped off in the pick rate. Maybe we'll see a reintroduction of that here on Kafe. We know the Knights to be explosive on their late round executes, and I'm assuming the thought process of the Knights is that that will help aid them. They will have to clear some roamers though offside, and one of those is Derpe playing at Pixel quite aggressively there with the MP5. His droned out, position revealed, and he's just going to fall back. He doesn't want to give away his life too early here.
I think importantly too, that drone definitely saw his fallback. The Knights will be able to try and start to take that control. Nico playing very aggressive around the main corridor here under default. Probably a read into what the Knights did against Wildcard, and he wants to try and be able to repel that. No drones coming out, not spotting him, and maybe he's aware or not that Dino and Juicy have already entered into train. Strider's rappelling down to that balcony. So again, it is looking like it is that direct push from the Knights against Sinister here.
Halfway through the round now, utility being expended by the Knights from inside of train towards the objective. Strider, Juicy, and Dino in great positions now. Sinister forced back towards the white stairs or the cross from the B bomb site. Nico, one of those players holding that cross. There's now 1 minute left for the Knights to convert. Oh, that was
crossing.
Ooh, that was very scary. That was very scary.
Locking eyes, and Fisho just walks into the smoke and dies to it straight away. I think he was getting downed by enemy gunfire anyway. It hasn't been a really great start to the match from Sinister. Knocked the Knights back in terms of time, but the Knights have got the map control they want. So it's going to come down to whether Sinister can deny this plant, or if this flank might be successful from Vinny. This could mean a lot for Sinister.
The sound cue from going prone has been heard. The Knights will take him out. Strider can now go for the plant. Not sure if those Capital bolts have been expended yet, but either way, the plant is stuck. It's now a post-plant scenario as those bolts actually have been used. It's up to Nico, Milo, and Derpe to try and retake. There's one inside reading, one on blue stairs. The one in reading, though, has been shut down. It's a 2-on-5. Derpe finds one. And as that timer starts to tick down, there's not a whole lot they can do, and it's Milo now left in a 1-on-4. That's a nice shot, but it's not really going to mean a whole lot in the context of this round. He has 10 seconds before he needs to stick that counter defuse, but with a player on the window, it is almost impossible for him to win that round.
Great start from the Knights. They've done really well to secure their first round as an attack. I tell you what, guys, one thing I'm a bit disappointed about is that is the exact play that the Knights did against Wildcard last night. So I don't know whether Sinister maybe lacked some preparation on this map in terms of what the Knights did, or forgot, or something just didn't work out. But either way, I really felt like Sinister had the tools available to be able to deal with that a lot better. Regardless, clean from the Knights, not so much from Sinister, and it means they're not going to repeat that site now. They're going to rotate down the kitchen and try their luck there.
Probably the safe option. Kafe is a map where you need to be clocking up as many defensive round wins as possible. It'll prove critical when they switch sides later on in this map. Every round is critical from here on out. Letting a couple of rounds slip could prove very costly. As, we are going to see Vinny get quite aggressive, trying to find any drones from the Knights, who have actually already lost one. Hayward losing his early on. That's a little bit of info gathering denied by Team Sinister, which is always great. Losing drones early, especially in the prep phase, in competitive can prove very costly.
10 seconds to go.
Really, that drone economy is a massive part of competitive Rainbow Six. So you can enact some issues with that as the defense. That is a really big advantage.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb.
Start round 2. See how Sinister go with this defense. They are not bringing the castle, so no hold in Bakery, at least not a hard hold. Doesn't look like there's any outlines there either. That is early map control that the Knights could go for if they want to. Looks like they're going to bypass it. Actually looking to do a vertical push and try and clear potentially top down, which is a real favored attack among a lot of competitive teams.
Of course, the Sinister are holding from above, as you can see the blue outlines in towards reading. And it may even potentially be one in Cocktail. The Knights opting to try and flush them out, confident in their ability to clear these roamers. Josh will head the entry. Drone not too far in front. Cocktail's clear and he can take control of that. Now try and pick pillars, but there's no one there at the moment. Sinister doing a great job at wasting a little bit of time and defaulting back to site without too much damage being taken.
You are going to do a top-down clear as you attack this site. You've got to be quick because time can tick away from you so fast. And there's always so much left to do with site. You know, this roam clear is usually not involving a utility clear. You're usually just trying to push players back down. And if that takes too long, then you don't have time to actually work site, put pressure vertically, open hatch, or whatever you need to do. So it's actually worked out pretty well from the Knights so far. If half the round down now, they really are starting to put that vertical pressure onto Sinister.
Minute 20 in the round. Verticality now being established by the Knights from above. C4 goes out and Dino gets lit up. Will survive it though, and now be able to use that utility late round for the plant. Strider meanwhile is rotated towards Bakery. He'll be met by Vinny, who hasn't seen that drone. Vinny's still holding this position. The pre-fire from Strider doesn't hit the mark though. Vinny has the presence of mind to fall back towards prep, and he's actually gone all the way back in towards cooking. So that's well played by him, and again, just leaking more time for for the Knights.
Absolutely, and this Sledge has not been able to spot out Vinny, so this could be really detrimental. He sees it and hits a beautiful shot onto Juicy. That's going to be really important for Sinister to take this man advantage coming into the 40 seconds. Vinny pre-firing angle in prep. Doesn't get any shots off though, so 30 seconds leaves the Knights not much time to get stuff done. Bakery wall still closed. They're going to have to funnel.
20 seconds on the board. X-Kairos go out from Strider. That wall may well be open as Josh finds a pick. Not a lot of time here for the Knights, but we know they love their late round executes. Can they pull this one off? Dino finds Derpe. Vinny just misses that trade as Milo gets one, but the diffuser critically is down, and Vinny finds 3 in this round. He still has 9 bullets left in the older. He will now be forced to reload as Hayward makes a desperate attempt at the red stairs, but there's nothing he can do. Time does not permit the push, and Sinister will take the round.
Oh, guys, I don't know how many times we're going to say it, but another huge round from Vinny. I mean, he got the opening pick when there was only 40 seconds to go. And on top of that, he got the 2 critical picks of the push from the Knights there. It was Strider trying to come in through the Vault Bakery, and then the follow-up from Prep. It secured that round for Sinister, and again, he really has put his team on his shoulders and bringing them through this entire series. And I'm not saying he's a one-man army, but the impact he has had cannot be discounted.
Monstrous performance from him so far tonight, but we are far from done. Plenty of rounds to go, and Vinny will need to keep that up. If he slips away, then that could play into the minds of his fellow teammates. We've said time and time again that Sinister are momentum-based and often can struggle when things start to go against them. So far, it hasn't been too bad of a performance here on Kafe. Good recovery from what was a little bit of a disastrous round number 1. They have elected to go back, or not go back, but rather attempt the top floor for the first time here. Often the more favoured bomb site here on Kafe. They are going to fully reinforce off bathroom, so no rotate there for the defenders.
10 seconds left before insertion.
See how Sinister goes on this one. Haven't seen Bar Cocktail yet from them. And really, I mean, we're 2 rounds deep, guys, but it's feeling like it's going to be delivering on exactly what we were picturing here. A tight contest that could really go either way. It's not like the Knights' attack in that previous round was bad into Kitchen. It's just that standout performance from Vinny and a lack of time, really, that went to bite them. See where they can come on top of it here. So they're going to progress to the top. Going to take a bit of work to clear out Piano, it looks like. Milo's getting some tight angles. There's one at Pixel, and the castle barricades as well is something that the Knights will have to deal with.
That hatch being open will allow Moloska to rotate out. No harm done. No one below to hold that cross. Knights potentially a little bit scared that there could be a player there, but surely they now have info that this tree area inside of Lounge is in fact clear. The Knights trying to clear this pixel position. Josh confident to rappel in as Fisho finds one. Josh will retrade that out and finds a second on the long angle. Derpe on Kaid gets shut down. Probably wasn't even aware that Josh was in that spot. Timing there almost actually got Josh another. I believe that is Nico down below in dining, or even Molosca, who's now repositioned over towards the white stairs.
Josh so far has been having a pretty good map for his team. He's on 5-1 at the moment for 2.5 rounds. Knights have all taken up control there in Cigar Shop, and they can push through to Piano. It's going to give them a lot of control coming into the final minute and a half. That long angle to Piano is going to start to work against Sinister, though. Looking to try and get aggressive back into bar means they can't because of that angle being held by the Knights now. Really comes back to bite them. Pixel has also been obtained. Washroom is clear. So this is looking great for the Knights at this stage.
The Knights really trying to shape up for a Bins plant here. It's probably their best chance to stick it, but with Milo inside of Freezer, they need to be careful of that wide swing. Milo almost hits that shot there in towards Shop. Push comes through. Milo misses those initial shots. His position well and truly revealed. They're going to try to force the wide swing here from the Knights. Strider with the ACOG could find that challenging, as they are now stalled out. Vinny finds Dino. They need to try and retrade it, but they can't find the pick. Strider will now try and push through. He's right at Bins, and he gets the first shot. That's Milo downed. It is effectively a 2-on-2. Going to continue to go aggressive here with the bearing 9. Josh alongside to aid, but no. He gets shut down. Actually, no. It's actually Vinny that gets shut down. It's Nico left in a 1-on-2. Plant goes down. The sound cue's there. Josh isn't covering this angle if Nico wide picks the double door, but he elects not to. That planter is safe behind that reinforced wall. Just tense standoff here as Nico tries to find one pick. He wall bangs through that bar, but he doesn't find the kill. 30 seconds on the board. Nico, not a whole lot he can do here. That UMP, not the strongest gun in the game, but he's going to try and get it to work. He pre-fires through that angle and finds the pick, but a great trade there from the Knights will close out the round.
Was a good attack from the Knights, and I thought it might have been falling apart at one stage as Milo and Vinny got a couple of picks to give Sinister the man advantage, but it was a really good push through bar there, and Josh on a triple for the round, helping the Knights through. They're taking an early lead now at 2-1 on their attack half. I think that's important to point out. So they are playing quite well so far in Kafe, and Sinister are going to have to try and pick it up and try and keep with them, stay in touch and maintain some momentum.
Team Sinister will reattempt that top floor bar bomb site. Similar lineups again from both teams. That last round so incredibly close. Key moment was really Milo losing that gunfight behind bar, getting a little bit overzealous, trying to wide swing. The potential plant there at Bins was shut down and the rest crumbled apart. Vinny, unfortunately, in that 2v2 was unable to show up as Josh shut him down, leaving Nico in a pretty dire 1-on-2, and there wasn't a whole lot he could do. Great conclusion by the Knights on that round, who will be trying to replicate that here and try and extend that lead a little bit further.
So we'll see what they can do this time. Bar cocktail again by Sinister, making some changes here. Doesn't look like anything too dramatic being changed though. In fact, looks like it's the same operators. Pretty similar strat, maybe just an error in play style. I think that if they can deny that entry into piano a little bit longer, that will definitely help the Knights. Even though they had that early map control, they didn't really take advantage of it. They took them legging it deep through bar to end up actually securing that round.
Vinny has been a key player again so far tonight. 4-2 currently here on Kafe. A lot of those kills off the back of a great performance on their kitchen defense, but that is the only defense that Team Sinister have managed to succeed on. Really struggling in reading and bar. They just need to try and stall out a little bit more time, not give the Knights those openings in towards site. Try and shut them down.
A bomb has been located.
Fisher going to be playing deep in Cigar there, really trying to stop that push onto Red. Need to stop the push into Piano as well to protect him. There is a castle barricade there. Of course, that can be simply dealt with. Juicy's going to cook a nade and throw it down.
Oh.
Beautifully done. That takes Fisher out. That's only a minute burned off, and not a whole lot of trouble, to be honest, to be able to deal with him. They really cleared that utility beautifully. So that's a great start to the round from the Knights, and Sinister again. They're already on the back foot here.
The only thing Sinister can really find comfort in that is that Mute is more of a passive operator in terms of his utility expenditure, as Nico has a Nico-esque angle but can't find the pick. As I was saying, Fisho will have placed those Mute jammers already. Doesn't have to actively use that or expend that gadget necessarily during the round in comparison to the likes of Vinny, where those magnets regenerate throughout. But they are at a man disadvantage, you can't understate that. The Knights will be looking to try and exploit that. Just over a minute to go in this round.
Feeling very similar to the previous round here, with the Knights getting that control of Piano, opening up in towards the garbage bags, the trash bags area, which they seem to favor planting. Milo has retaken below in pillars, and Nico is in fact on the bottom floor. So 2 Sinister players off site means there's only 2 on site. They've been spotted. Something that the Knights will have to think about dealing with because that plant's a little bit sketchy. Josh does get Milo though. And oh, it's all going in the favor of Knights. They've just pushed through, guys. This is looking really good for them yet again.
Derpe, how many can he find? He actually manages to find 2 headshots, but he can't find the third. The diffuser is down, and this is clutchable for Nico. We'll have to hold out for 30 seconds as Dino has collected the diffuser and is sticking the plant. He slow walks to try and reduce his sound, and he finds the first. Dino commits to the plant. Can Nico find the peak? He does. That's 2. Hayward, where is he? He's actually on the roof, I think. This is completely winnable for the Knights as Nico will be forced to try and bait the plant and hit the shot. If Hayward times this, he can just stick on the roof. Nico, not even considering that there is a player here on the skylight, peeking every angle but that. Of course, Sinister won't have that intel. Nico now will peek it. Can he long arm it though? That's the question. I don't think he's going to be able to. Surely Hayward can find this angle. It depends how long he waits. Hayward, don't let it slip. Don't let it slip. No, he sticks it. Oh, but the Knights get the... What? Hayward denies the defuse just. Yep. Oh, can we get a freeze frame on what the time was on that? That had to be like less than 0.1 seconds. That was... What the heck?
That was
I thought Nico stuck that. That was so close. Holy jeepers.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
I thought he had whiffed that chance just then. I really did think that he'd bundle it up, but no, he managed to get there in the end. So good little angle from Nico. And look, it got to the point where do you stick it or not? He maybe could have popped up and tried to take the pick and go back on it, but I think he just got so deep you have to stick it there. So well played from Nico in the end, but not securing it enough. The Knights are starting to build a solid lead here, guys.
How close is it? Point. Oh, what? It was like point. It was like 0.0. It must have been literally the tick. The tick before Nico counter defused that. It literally can't get any closer than that.
I'm pretty sure it was like 0.02 something. I don't know. I tried to look at it, but
I swear it was 0. I swear it was 0.0. I saw 0.0. There's no way.
Yeah,
that...
it was. Yeah, it was like literal milliseconds. Oh, that is insane.
It was literally.
That is insane.
I've never seen a counter defuse get denied as close as it literally can't get any closer than that. Wow. Here we go. It was 0. Hayward,
okay, I think that's...
He will be counting his blessings after that. That is absolutely nuts. Well, there you go. Hayward, you know, he's had a bit of a quiet night, right? But he stepped up big there. That was the time to step up.
Yeah, and look, props to production, guys. You guys sorted that out real quick. That was beautiful. And man, I'm gobsmacked. That was incredible. And that's got to hurt for Sinister because Nico, if he'd pulled that off, that would have been pretty hype for them. 2-2, comms going good, but now they're down 1-3 in their defense half on Kafe. They would have felt like Nico had the clutch of his life, but it didn't work out. So things are really stacking up against them right now.
Yes, they are. Heading into the playoffs, Sinister were seeded second. They had a great regular season, bouncing back from what has been a bit of a tumultuous last few months. They've had Of course, Derpe step in. Luna currently out of the roster. Took a little bit of time for those changes to come into effect. But when they did, they found a hot streak in the season. Their finals, though, really posing some issues. Yesterday, they struggled against Okami. They didn't win a single map. And here on Kafe against the Knights, this one is starting to slip away a little bit. There we go. That's another pick for Hayward, who is, you know, feeling pretty good about himself after that last round.
Yeah, but I mean, should he? He had such a good spot.
No.
It was
Yeah, he
so
calculated.
close.
It was calculated. What do you mean? He calculated it.
Oh boy. Well, that grenade not going all the way through. That actually got stuck in between the floor there. Oh, Juicy, does he know? Oh, just missing the shots onto Nico. Not sure if he's fully aware that he is right next to Nico. Gets tagged up a little bit, and in the end, Hayward on a good entry with a double here. Dino with another one. This is just the Knights running over the top of them at this stage, guys. It's not looking too good for Sinister.
Been rough for Sinister. This is their defensive half as well. The Knights convert this round. It'll be a 3-round lead, essentially. Oh, no. That's unlucky. But Milo's now left in a 1-on-4. He needs to find an ace, and he can't find the second for the round. The Knights are really just starting to walk over Sinister at the moment.
Yup, definitely are. They're looking good with these attacks, and Sinister just can't manage to get something secured here. If they fail to salvage at least a 2-4 in this half, my oh my, is it really looking good for the Knights going forward? Final round. It's going to be back on Kitchen. Well, let's see what they can pull out, guys.
I mean, at this rate, it's going to have to be something magical, because Sinister are not playing the way we've come to expect. It's been very, very rough, and we've mentioned time and time again that they can find themselves in a little bit of a hole when the tide turns against them. And I don't think there's been a greater time than, well, a greater example of that than now. 4-1 down, or 1-4 down. Looking at it from the Sinister perspective on what could be their final map here in Six Masters 2020. Again, if they lose this map, they are knocked out of the Six Masters bracket. They will also miss out on qualifying for the Oceanic Mini Major, which means that they can't earn points towards the Sixth Invitational, and that is going to be incredibly disheartening for a team that's been working so hard.
Really is. Again, they came in as second seed. A lot of people have probably got Sinister in their predictions for making the grand final and probably challenging wildcard in that best of 5, but yeah, they're on the brink of not seeing that potentially happen at all. Top of that, finishing 4th in the playoffs would be absolutely devastating for Sinister. So they've got to dig deep now. They've got to find something here, get this defense round, and then try and build something in through their attacks in the next half.
The Knights are riding a little bit of a high at the moment. Last night was disappointing for them. So far, so good here on Kafe. Unfortunately for Dino, though, he'll be taken off the board. A good first pick there for Nico. Hopefully that will instill some confidence in the rest of Team Sinister. Meanwhile, the rest of the remaining Knights members are droning out above, just making sure it's clear, and it looks like it will again be another top-down take by the attack.
I haven't really had any trouble doing it yet, so may as well keep at it. Josh is continuing to have a good map for the Knights at 8-1-3 there. He's been really good with their entries. Some really impactful picks. Now with a minute played, Knights have got some pretty good control on this first floor, or top floor I should say, so they can start to progress down. It's just a matter of what Sinister decide to do, whether they try to flank, put more pressure on this clear, or just turtle in, and it really looks like turtling in is the call. All 5 of them appearing to be on that first floor.
Well, we do know the last time the Knights attempted this sweep from above, they wasted quite a bit of time, and then Vinny, who we're seeing on screen now, was able to mow them down late round. So far, it's feeling a little bit like could be a sense of deja vu happening at the moment, as the Knights are unable, or have been unable, to trade out Dino as of yet. And that timer is ticking down. Sinister in some great key positions, and it's going to be hard to flush them out.
Very signature Fisher guy playing there in that VIP with the shield. Seen that a lot from Sinister on Kafe. And it's a tough position to deal with. You have to think about going from that double window or pushing the white hallway. But there are so many crossfire positions that can be held by teammates that it's just never safe or easy to do. Right now, the time is starting to get away from the Knights with the final 45 seconds. They're putting pressure on site, but Sinister are really holding strong, holding good angles. Definitely could flip back in favor of Sinister real quick if the Knights can't work. Maybe even just one more pick here.
Fisher manages to survive that engagement and again is just wasting time. Oh, that's one at pillars as Milo will come out on top. The Knights now still at the man disadvantage, but Josh will get one back. We know the Knights are explosive late round. Do they have what it takes here with 15 seconds left? Juicy, he has the diffuser in hand as Josh will try and enter the main door. Hayward, he's way off site trying to find picks from above. Juicy will find another. And that's one more here for the Knights. Milo's somehow left in a 1-on-3, but can he deny the plant? No, he can't. The Knights will take the round, and Raven, what an incredible half from the attack.
That cannot be understated, man. A huge half from the attack from the Knights. Going 5-1. They really have put themselves in next to the best position possible to be able to take this map. They've gone onto defense for this half. They just need 2 to secure the series. My oh my, is the pressure stacking up on Sinister right now.
Oh. The odds are well and truly against them. Again, last time these two played, Sinister won both maps. On this occasion, though, it's looking like the Knights may well end up on top. That's not to say that Sinister can't provide some quality attacks like the Knights did. Both these teams, again, heading into this match, won Kafe twice and lost it twice. So the argument could be made that Sinister could replicate similar success on their attacks. This round is absolutely critical, though. If Sinister lose this round, the Knights, their confidence will be at an all-time high. They'll have match point, 5 rounds in the bank. And that's going to be incredibly tough to come back from.
It really is. They're going to have to go hard on these attacks, and I'm just not sure what exactly they'll need to do, whether they need to change up something with their playstyle or not. We'll wait and see how this first attack plays out. Definitely not going to be easy, though, because on top of the fact that the Knights can feel a little bit more comfortable in general on defense, they've got to be riding a massive confidence boost right now, not just because they won the second map so dominantly, but they're doing so well here on Kafe against a team like Sinister. A real anti-momentum moment here for Sinister to be able to bring this back.
Team Sinister bringing the Capitao again. Within Siri tasked with that operator. We saw a mixture of him on the Kali and the Zofia on Theme Park with mixed success. Of course, Maverick is on the board, so they can use him to help open the walls on the western side, as Team Sinister so often do. Vinny's positioned himself on the skylight as Hayward finds the first pick, and it's actually Vinny. Somehow he shuts him down on the pixel, and that is a devastating loss for Sinister.
It's a dangerous time for Hayward to become woke, guys. I mean, the first 2 maps, he was essentially sleeping. He didn't... Legit, he really has. And now he's got this confidence to peak things like that. He's hitting nasty shots, and for Vinny to be the first player out, that's huge for Sinister. The Knights are looking poised here, potentially going to match point. Still a minute 45 to play in this round, though, and it is a 4v5. Fisher tagged from Pixel, not hitting his shots, and Sinister is slowing down a bit here. It's looking a little troublesome.
Fisher almost losing that engagement. If it had have been a cleaner shot, surely the round would have been over for Sinister, but they still do have a chance. They have their hard breaches on the board. Fisher and Nico as well with some soft destruction. Hayward, though, he's full of confidence at the moment, going 8-1. Crazy. He was really struggling on Clubhouse and struggling a little bit less on Theme Park, but still, I believe he went negative in the end. So to be turning that around into an 8-1, absolutely a massive performance from him, as Stride is now finding himself being lit from the southern window. The Knights trying to hold firm here as Josh finds a pick onto Milo, and it's really falling apart now. Juicy as well will find a pick, Raven, and this round surely is not winnable. It's a 1-on-5 as Fisho drops as well. A devastating round here for Team Sinister. They're going to lose this round, surely. The Knights will head to match point, series point. Sinister will need to win the next 5 rounds to be any chance in this series, or they will be knocked out of the bracket, losing 2 series straight. Unbelievable. I thought Team Sinister were red hot. I had them in the grand final, but they might not even make it out of the second round. Devastating for them.
10 seconds
Derpe sends out a couple of nades, maybe to find a kill, as he might even kill himself. And there we go. It's a flawless round for the Knights, Raven, and they are on match point.
Yeah, it feels like it's too far gone now for Sinister, but you never know until it's over. They might summon some super strength, but it's not just about them winning 5 rounds in a row. That just gets overtime. They've got to get another 2 on top of that. So right now, if you look at it this way, they essentially have to be 7-0ing the Knights, or 7-1 at worst. That's a huge ask. I'm just not sure Sinister have it in them right now, and the Knights have all of this momentum. Really solid, and that round was flawless in the end.
Bar any changes, it's looking like potentially the final site will be Reading and Fireplace. And I mean, that's a site that, of course, we haven't seen the Knights defend. This is only their second defense, and they have such a great lead. They have plenty of opportunities to make mistakes here, but I'm sure they'll just be wanting to close this one out like that. This has been... How rough has this been for Sinister? I can't believe how demoralizing it must be in their comms at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not great. We've talked about it a lot about them coming in as the second seed. They had a bit of a bad game against Wildcard yesterday, but you know what? Fair enough. Wildcard has been looking really good. But no, look, coming through here, this is just... it's grim. By Wildcard, I meant Okami, by the way.
I mean, if you're in the Team Sinister camp now, I mean, you have a little bit of an opportunity to talk things through. I mean, do you think there's actually any talking going on in this VC? Because in my head, I'm just imagining a bit of a dead silence at the moment. I don't think too many people are going to be happy chappy in that chat at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about the competitive mindset, right? You've got to stay focused no matter what. You can still bring it back. Right? The match is not over. You can get 5 rounds in a row, and you can get overtime. And in this instance, you've just got to take it 1 round at a time. Get it to be 2-6, 3-6. Each round, it feels easier and more achievable, especially if you can get it to, let's say, 3-6. When you think about only getting 3 rounds, that doesn't feel so bad. I think what does make it tough, though, is the fact that they are on attack. So a lot of the pressure has to come from them. Attackers have the onus of progressing things. So the Knights can just ice it out. They can chill, they can turtle. All it takes is one of those rounds for Sinister just to not be quick enough or not as accurate, and then it's all over.
Well, of course, the match isn't over, but I mean, we can probably speculate that the Knights will take this. So looking ahead, if the Knights do take this game, tomorrow, the first game of tomorrow, will be the winner of this matchup, likely to be the Knights taking on Okami, and then the winner of that will take on Wildcard in the best of 5 grand final. Looking ahead at that next matchup, Knights v Okami, any thoughts on how that one might shape up? Because for me, Okami probably still have the edge.
That's a good point. I would feel like Okami would still have the edge, but I mean, you know what? We thought Sinister had the edge coming into this. They even won map 1, and I really thought it would be probably over at 2-0 at that stage. But no, the Knights have really proven they can show up. They can play really well. You know what? They took Wildcard to an overtime map yesterday. That's not to be understated either. Wildcard have been in fantastic form. So I think if I'm Okami, I'd be a little worried. I'm just quickly peeking their previous results. Knights lost 6-8 on Clubhouse, and then 4-7 on Kafe to Okami last time they met, and that was at the start of June, so not too long ago.
And I'm tipping as well that Okami, I mean, again, I could be speaking out of line here, but I would expect that Okami have probably prepped a little bit harder to be taking on the likes of Sinister. I'm pretty sure Centus mentioned that he was expecting to be taking on Sinister. So taking on the Knights, yes, they can watch today's matches, yesterday's matches, but I don't think that will offer a whole lot in terms of the wider scope of what the Knights could bring to the board. For example, Theme Park came out of nowhere, right? And they managed to basically decimate Sinister there. With all these question marks in the air, I don't think it's going to be clear cut if Okami can take down the Knights again, if the Knights do manage to win this map.
Yeah, look, I think it's tough, but you never know. There could be some more surprises up the sleeve of a team like the Knights, and that could catch Okami off guard. They might be their next victim. So it's hard to say. And again, Sinister could still get 5 rounds in a row, take us to OT. They might get 7 rounds in a row and just win at 8-6. Like, we don't know what we're in for right now. We could be talking all about Knights versus Okami, but that could end up not even being a thing.
That would probably be the greatest caster curse in the history of caster curses if the Knights managed to somehow lose this map, but it's not looking likely. Team Sinister, we mentioned this earlier, they had such a great regular season. They managed to finish in 2nd position. I myself expected them to make it to the grand final. I thought it was going to be Sinister losing out and going through the lower bracket potentially. And I mean, yes, that story could come true if they win the next, 7 rounds straight, but it's not looking likely. I'm trying to work out where's the disconnect, because they're not playing the same that they did during the regular season.
Yeah, maybe the pressure has gotten to them. It really could just be down to that. There's obviously a lot of things that it could be down to. Disturbed prep. We don't know whether there's been issues with their prep, or like under prepped or over prepped is totally a thing as well, where you've maybe counter stratted too hard and then the other team adapts or changes, and then all the stuff that you worked on is just out the window. Mentality, pressure. Yeah, there could be so many different things that are affecting them right now. And they looked pretty good at the start of the night. It's just as we've gone on, they've really dropped off. I felt like it was fair enough on Theme Park, given that was such a surprise pick from the Knights. But right now in Kafe, I don't think it's as excusable.
Yeah, and that's weird, right? Because we have, again, seen Sinister perform quite well on this map. They did lose it to Okami, and actually Elevate, but then they did manage to take down Kanga and LFO pretty convincingly. So, I don't know, maybe it's just been a bad day for them, but yesterday was arguably a bad day for them as well. And that's, again, we're not trying to discredit anything from Okami and Pittsburgh Knights, because they both played really well. It's just Sinister have felt a little bit off, a little bit disjointed. And again, I think it might come down to just a lack of confidence, and it is really starting to shine through.
Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes that stuff can happen to teams, and you never know when it's going to strike. If that is the case, it's such unfortunate timing for them, given how well they've played during the regular season, as well as the way they capped off Pro League was fantastic from them. So they've really been going up and up and up, and for it to crash down here it's a bit sad. It's a shame, but we've seen it happen before. I think another similar example is Elevate in the regular season of Six Masters. Like, they finished 2nd in Pro League, and they started okay at the start of Six Masters, but then it just felt like they really dropped off. And I guess it's a similar effect here with Sinister.
I guess that's the thing, right? You don't want to peak too soon, but you also want to peak eventually. Maybe it's a case that Sinister have peaked a little bit early and dropped off in a similar fashion to Elevate, and then you have other teams like Pittsburgh who maybe haven't reached their final form yet. They seem to be on the up despite a disheartening 0-2 against Wildcard yesterday. I think it's actually important to highlight that they've bounced back really well. I'm sure that their confidence probably took a little bit of a hit being demolished essentially on that second map yesterday, ending things off really badly. To jump in here, even to lose the first map, right? Because they did lose against Sinister on Clubhouse. It was super, super close. To then show up really big on Theme Park and now so far on Kafe. Great effort by them.
Yeah, and I mean, to wheel it back to what you're saying about teams having their peaks and that kind of thing, good teams will all have peaks at one stage or another if you're a good team, but it's the great teams that maintain that, or they can be consistent. A perfect example is the Penta G2 era. They were a great team because they just consistently showed up. They went through meta changes and they were still strong. So if you're a great team, that's how you've got to be. Wildcard could possibly be put there. They had one little slump, but they've come back strong. They've adapted. So I don't know. If Sinister is going to be a great team, they need to be able to get through these kinds of things. It's just unfortunate timing for them right now. But I guess moving forward, if they do lose this series in the end, they've got to be able to bounce back up if they're trying to be one of those next great teams.
I mean, it's not the first time that Sinister have had to fight through rough times. Harping back, as we often do, Pro League Season 10, they almost got relegated to Challenger League. The first half of Pro League Season 11, they didn't win a single map and then went flawless for the second half. So they've managed to bounce back from these tough scenarios. On the micro level, I don't think they're going to be able to bounce back in this particular map. I mean, they might, but it's looking very unlikely. But as you mentioned, if they do lose this, it's important that they bounce back. We've got more tournaments coming up. Oceanic Nationals is one of those, and they want to be finding that form back in time for that, so that can be a good chance at trying to qualify and get some points.
Yeah, I mean, there's no such time as a time that you can sleep really in Rainbow Six. You have to constantly be on top of your game, try and stay at your top level, try and adapt, create new strats, change strats, counter your opponents, all that kind of stuff. You can never really slow down. You can take small breaks, but at the end of the day, Sinister are wanting to be a top contender. And the fact that they got second in Six Masters, I think, gave them that belief. Maybe they have taken that hit with the way they played yesterday, and that's come through to today as well. But yeah, like I've said before, they have to be able to get past that. Like you've said, Oceanic Nationals is coming up sometime later this year. It's not that far away. They need to be able to bounce back and be ready for that.
I guess if you're in that Sinister camp, what will you be doing over this break? Even if they do win this map, right, and head through, it hasn't probably been the greatest final series they want, and they need to be able to perform in these high pressure scenarios if they want to be able to score points for the global system. I mean, that's how the new system works, right? You can't just be aiming for the top of ANZ, fly through, and then, you know, you get points. You have to be able to take it on the biggest stage, and if you are faulting under pressure, performing at those high stages can be really tough.
It can, and it's just something you have to be ready to do. Teams, you can't just fluke a run and then that's it. There's a lot of work involved in being a high-performing team. If you want to be at the top, you've got to put in the work like a top team. It's not to say Sinister haven't. I still think they're a growing team. I mean, this core roster, they've been together a little while, but they've had some changes as well. I mean, Vinny was a new addition in Season 11. Derpe is new for Six Masters. Milo, I think, was new for Season 11 as well, so they're still pretty fresh in their current form. I think there's a lot of progression ahead of them as long as they're staying together, and it's just about putting in that work and going through stuff like this. You learn from situations like they're facing right now.
And I think the most frustrating thing for me as a viewer or a caster, and potentially for Sinister themselves, is, I mean, you can see in the replays there, they have such great individual players that can show up in specific rounds. It's just, again, trying to connect those dots and, again, ensuring more consistency. Nico, he can pop off. Vinny, he can pop off. But they need to be trying to do it a little bit more in sync and more consistently if they actually want to try and convert more rounds, because you can, I mean, sure, you can have a player pop off here and there. We did see Vinny earlier tonight really keep his team's hopes alive on Clubhouse, but you can't become over-reliant on that, because if Vinny, for example, drops early in a round, which just happened before the rehost, things fall in a heap really quickly.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a trap, you know, sometimes relying on certain people to frag out. You need a full team effort in Rainbow Six. It is a real team game with a lot of things happening and a lot of things you have to be in control of. I mean, to put that onto the Knights, I was sitting here thinking, you know, it's 6-1. We're feeling like the Knights are going to close this out. I'm like, who's MVP tonight for me on the Knights? But I feel like they've played such a good team game. I can't think of anybody that's had that real standout MVP performance from them. They've all had their moments. Strider's had some really big moments. Dino stepped up with some big frags. Josh is having a great Kafe. It's really flowed through their team, and I would say that is quite the difference between these two, and potentially why we are sitting here with Pittsburgh Knights up at 6-1.
And I mean, adding on to that, at least Hayward, for example, we highlighted this a little bit earlier in the broadcast. Clubhouse, he had a shocker. Theme Park, not as much of a shocker, but not a great map. But here on Kafe, I don't know, what was he going before the rehost? It was like 8-1 or something. He was popping off. I can't remember the exact number, but he's been really tricky to shut down. I mean, in that most recent round, again, he got that first initial pick onto Vinny, who's been popping off for Team Sinister. So he showed up when it's mattered. Again, as you said, though, it has been a really well-rounded performance. And if they can continue that on to Okami, again, if they win this map, they might be hard to shut down.
Yeah, and Okami they're going to have to be ready for, because they played a great game recently as well, and they've got some really good team play in them themselves. So yeah, there's only battles ahead of them. And speaking of battles ahead, guys, Sinister, if they want to stay in this, 5 rounds perfectly to get it to overtime.
For round number 8, we will be heading to Reading Room and Fireplace. Still or die for Team Sinister. A single round loss in the rest of regulation will spell the end to their Six Masters run. They lost yesterday 0-2 against Okami. That's why they're in this lower bracket elimination match. Clubhouse was super close. They scraped through with an 8-7. They then struggled on Theme Park, which was a big question mark for the Knights. And here on Kafe, it hasn't been much different. Or even worse so. Or more worse off Sinister have been. Really, really struggling at the moment.
So let's see what they can summon for round number 8 here. Map number 3 of this best of 3 series. Winner advances to face Okami in the loser bracket final tomorrow. Of course, the loser tonight will be out of Six Masters playoffs, finishing in 4th place. Now let's see how it pans out. Vinny on the Ash now. So just, you know, he's been fragging out. Decided he's going to go for the simpler operator to frag on and see if he can really lift the team up and move them forward.
Question is, how aggressive will Vinny get? Does look like he's actually droning at the moment. Entry might be headed by the likes of Nico, who has that skeleton key and can remodel a lot of the floor here on Kafe. A lot of it created or generated with wood. We do see the Knights holding over towards Cocktail. Again, another key position on this map that the defenders will often invest a lot of utility in. We see some barbed wire, reinforcements, and even a deployable shield. Josh as well with the Ramai will have some magnets to work with. And this is going to be a tall order for Sinister to clear, especially considering things have not quite gone their way so far here on Kafe.
That's one way to put it. So, but they can muster up. Not a whole lot of pressure being put onto the Knights at the moment. I mean, there's been no real engagements that have dealt damage. Have progressed through Piano though, starting to take control of White Hallway and push towards Cocktail. Hayward looked like he might have been trying to do a jump out or something. I'm not quite sure there. Didn't work out. Sees that drone. He's going to back away to Cocktail. This has been really good time burning here from the Knights. See whether Sinister continue to push across or whether they change up their push, but they're going to have to get something happening here because going into this final minute, they will have to push to site. Taking out Strider is going to help a lot. That's the castle. Sinister, can they keep it going?
Derpay will repel on the eastern side to try and pinch Josh. Still playing at Cocktail. Hayward as well is at the top of White. Derpay gets aggressive. That's his second for the round, and he finds 3. Trying to keep Sinister's dream alive. It's been a great round from him. Dino and Juicy now left in a 2-on-5. Juicy will reattempt, or attempt to retake rather, the White stairs. I think there's a drone here. Don't think there's a player watching. Dino, meanwhile, takes damage from that nade. The castle barricade won't be taken down, though. Position revealed on site by the drone as Juicy gets aggressive at the top of White. All 5 members from Sinister full HP. Oh, that's a nice pick from Juicy. 4-on-2. He has the high ground now. How many can he find? Oh, no. This has really not gone the way of Team Sinister. Nico left in a 1-on-2. He has to win this round. If they lose, Team Sinister will be knocked out of Six Masters. He tries to dunk site. Can he find any? He finds 1. But there's 1 to his hard right. He doesn't see the player, and the Knights will win the map. They will win the series in a 2-1 fashion. What a performance.
Insane performance from the Knights in the end, all the way through this map and never stopping. 2 versus 5 was that round with about 25 seconds to go, guys. And then they just clutched it up. That really was just a tale of how things fell apart for Sinister. Look, props to the Knights, man. They've had a great series and they're moving forward.
Right down to the wire, like so many of the rounds in this series. Congratulations to the Knights. They will be taking on Okami tomorrow in that lower bracket final. That's going to be an absolute cracking game. But a bit of it feels bad for Sinister, isn't it? They had a shocking final series and unfortunately things just didn't get any better.
Yeah, it didn't. And it's such a shame because they played pretty well on Clubhouse, I felt. And then Theme Park, even though they lost at 7-3, I said it then, I didn't feel like they were playing terrible on Theme Park. But things really just fell apart as we moved forward through to Kafe. And I wonder whether that came down to some of the mentality or I don't know what. But like after Theme Park, I really felt like Sinister were going to have a good Kafe. It really wasn't that at all.
Yeah, and that last round there, I think summed up pretty well how Sinister played this evening. They had such a great man advantage going in for the execute, and they just managed to throw the round, unfortunately for them. The Knights coming up strong. I think it was, like a 2v4 or maybe even a 2v5. in those dying seconds, and somehow Sinister still lost the round. Incredibly disheartening for them. They'll finish the Six Masters 2020 in 4th, so they won't qualify for the Oceanic Mini Major either, and they will get less prize money. So all around, not a great sort of standpoint for them at the moment. But let's talk about the Knights. What a great day for them.
Huge for them. I mean, let's bring that to context. They didn't even think they were going to finish in 4th on the final play day. And here they are. Not only did they make it through the playoffs in the end, but they've just knocked out the 2nd seed, Sinister. They progressed, and they are going to be finishing in top 3.
Well, unfortunately, in every series, one of the teams has to lose. On this occasion, it was Sinister. Let's have a word to Vinny. Mate, this is going to be a rough interview. Unfortunately, you guys will be knocked out. Talk us through how you're feeling after that map or that series.
Obviously disappointed. Yeah, you never go into these tournaments going to anything wanting to lose, but especially a tournament like this, you wanna put in the best effort because we don't get too many of them, and not too many chances to play comp. And after a month off, it felt good to come back, but yeah, just disappointed, obviously.
For sure. Look, there's no easy way to go through it, man. So let's just jump in. Tell us what happened. Like, you guys had an all right clubhouse, looked pretty good, and then it really just went downhill. Yeah, talk us through how the series progressed for you guys.
So over the last couple of days, it's been very up and down with us. I don't think it can be put down to any one thing. I think our mentality going into the last couple of days just wasn't on point. And both teams have capitalized on the many mistakes we made. And I think we were a bit rusty coming out of the break. We thought we were prepared for these kind of games, but yeah, it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat it too much to death. I'm just going to ask you now, I guess moving forward, we've got 3 teams left. We've got the Knights, Okami, Wildcard. What are your thoughts moving forward? Who do you think might be in this to take it?
Wildcard's always the favorite. They even today they seem to put Okami away pretty easily, and they showed why they're the #1 seed and why they're the #1 in ANZ at the moment. But again, anything can happen. Both Pittsburgh and Okami are great teams, and once they duke it out tomorrow, it'll be good to see who can take the BO5.
Well, I guess on a bit more of a positive note, obviously Team Sinister, you guys get really strong support from your fans, and that was evident throughout the entire season. What do you want to say to everyone out there flying the Team Sinister banner?
Obviously, just thank you guys so much for supporting. We work really hard every day to produce the best siege we can, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but we'll go back to the drawing board and hopefully produce some more good results coming up in the future. So thank you guys very much.
Awesome, Vinny. Again, thank you very much for the interview. All the best, mate, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Catch you later.
Oh, I thought Vinny was going to cry, man, and I wouldn't blame him. That was... I feel so bad, man. You can tell that they love the game. They put so much time into it, and unfortunately, at the end of the day, someone has to be the loser.
It's tough, but you're right. That is how it is. And it's like Vinny said, sometimes you put in all the hard work to try and produce the best seeds you can, and sometimes you just don't. And that's just the nature of the game. It's the nature of competing and stuff. They're still, like I said, what you would consider quite a younger team in terms of their roster's development as it is now. So they've got a lot more ahead of them, and they've got time to move into Oceanic Nationals and try to rebuild and progress. And it's about learning from tournaments like this and the result that's happened and building from that.
Yeah, and again, it's important to remember that you said this is a pretty young team. Derpe only recently really jumped in for Luna, and of course that's going to provide some challenges. He seemed to integrate quite well in the latter stages of this season, but as you mentioned, going forward they should be able to solidify that a little bit more, and I'm sure they'll come back with vengeance trying to take that top spot.
Yeah, and they're no strangers to coming up against big barriers. I mean, they were winless, like you said earlier, in Pro League Season 11 for that whole first split. And they really worked on what was going wrong for them. And then they didn't lose again in the second split. And then they brought that through to Six Masters. Now it seems like they've reached their next barrier. And it's like every team, you've got to be able to figure out a way to get past that.
Well, winners are grinners. Let's have a word to Strider from the Knights. There's that smile. Yeah, Strider.
Oh, man.
Let's get it,
Had
mate.
to earn
2-1.
that
How
smile
you feeling,
today,
man?
boys. Oh, wow.
How you feeling,
I
man?
mean, after that first map, it was exactly the same as last time, 8-7 on that cash. I suppose, defense and attack. And yeah, really hurt. But at the end of the day, that was their map. So we're like, you know what? Theme park, that was our map choice. I said last night that we wanted to play theme park and we got our wish. So overall, I'm very happy with the way that we played today.
Yeah, look, I'm really struggling to even think of a question to ask you. I think it's fantastic the storyline that you guys have had coming in through 4th, and now that you are here into top 3, you have Okami tomorrow. I mean, how are you guys feeling going into that matchup with Okami?
Well, Sinister and Okami are very similar teams, I feel like, and like you saw yesterday, we can still take it to teams like Wildcard. So I don't know, I think we just need to really keep working on what clicked for us tonight and work on those little small mistakes with the little time that we have, and maybe bring out something new like we did tonight.
Yeah, and you mentioned that things were clicking better for you guys tonight. I mean, can you give us some insight into certain things that were just working out so much better for you compared to maybe last night, for example?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel as though we were quite well structured tonight, even on a map like Theme Park, which is still quite new. We were holding our ground and we weren't letting them just get free picks here and there. And that really meant that we always had the numbers up. And especially on a map like Kafe at the end, we know that Sinister are quite powerful on that map. But I really don't think that they did their research, because we've changed a lot how we played since the last time we played them on Kafe, and it really showed.
I guess touching back on Okami, we heard from Sentis earlier that he was pretty confident that him and the boys would make it to the grand final. What's your message to them heading into tomorrow? What can they expect?
Well, I'm pretty sure they're going to have to start VOD reviewing us, not Sinister, because they weren't expecting us to win. Nobody was.
Awesome. We'll leave it at that, Strider. some wise words. We'll talk soon, man.
Thanks, boys. See you tomorrow.
I mean, he's spot on, right? Pittsburgh Knights heading into the playoffs. I mean, I'll be honest, I expected them to finish 4th, but here they are.
Look, I'd be surprised to look at a lot of people's predictions and see where they had the Knights finishing. I think it'd be a very small percentage that had them top 3. Excuse me. So, yeah, look, I think they've stunned a lot of people with the way this series panned out, and I think they can continue. The series against Okami tomorrow is really going to be interesting.
Of course, that concludes the second day's play here in the Six Masters final, and as you mentioned, tomorrow Pittsburgh will be taking on Okami. The winner of that will then take on Wildcard in a best-of-5 grand final, and of course, because Wildcard went through the upper bracket, they'll head into that game with a 1-map advantage.
Well, and that's really big. That's so helpful in such a big thing like a best of 5. Sorry, I mean, a perfect example of that is Space Station Gaming, who won the 6 Invitational. They went into that best of 5 with a single map advantage, and they almost got 3-0'd by Ninjas in Pajamas. They had that 1 map advantage, then they won 2, and they ended up taking that series. You could see a similar thing happen to Wildcard. We'll wait and see while that pans out. I'm just so excited for that lower final tomorrow. It's been made incredibly interesting by the way the Knights played tonight.
Exactly, this bracket is shaped up in a way that I did not expect. Yes, Wildcard in the grand final was probably the most likely outcome heading into these finals, but to see Pittsburgh fight it out and make it into that 3rd position is incredible. And on top of that, as we've mentioned a couple of times throughout the broadcast, that means that the Knights have actually now qualified for that Oceanic mini major, giving them an opportunity to actually score points for the 6th Invitational, which would be a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, it's also got its own little mini prize pool, so all about that extra cash as well. It's been a great story for the Knights. We've said it a bunch of times, and some people might wonder why we're all writing them off so hard. They literally scraped in to top 4, just threw some maths in that final round. Strider tweeted in their final play day about missing out on playoffs because they thought they hadn't made it. And look, here they are. They've made top 3, and they've got a chance to potentially make this grand final.
Well, as always, tonight offered some great siege in the Six Masters finals. We'll see you guys tomorrow for play day number 3. We'll catch you then.
When you think that you lost, I will take your hand and we'll rise up from the dust. Here we go, let us see a lane go. You won't be alone, we're unstoppable. Don't be afraid to show what we're going for. This is We rise up from